That day, the main character was playing his favorite game as usual. He was riding on a subway train and nothing strange was happening, well, almost nothing. Suddenly, a network connection error appeared on his phone screen and the main screen started loading. Then the young man woke up. The smartphone screen still showed the network connection error and the main screen loading. Suddenly, the main character realized that for some time now he had been sitting on the floor. The hero raised his head and saw that he was not on a train or in the subway at all. The young man saw a throne room and people unfamiliar to him in front of him. He was sitting on some kind of magical seal, and next to him was another young man and a girl in a school uniform. An unknown young man reached out to the girl and asked if she was okay. The girl said that she was okay and then thanked him for his help. The girl grabbed her head and asked what was going on here. The main character turned his attention to the girl and the boy and thought that they had also been dragged in without explaining anything. The main character starts to get back on his feet and thinks that maybe he was just summoned to another world like in the manga or game. After some time, the king, sitting on the throne, greeted the brave heroes who had arrived. The main character thought that it was simply impossible that he had fallen into one of the biggest cliches in games. At this time, the man on the throne introduced himself as the king of this kingdom, Joseph Roa Paez Nat. And now his kingdom is in a difficult situation due to its proximity to the demon continent. So he turns to the brave heroes and says that they could defeat the demon lord for them. The protagonist thinks that the king is talking like an idiot, and he doesn't look like he's in any trouble. Then another person approaches them and asks to let him explain everything, but first if he could know their names. The main character says his name is Sakurai. The girl introduces herself as Takanashi, and the other boy is called Watanabe. The man is happy that their long dream of summoning heroes has finally come true. He calls the trio brave heroes and says that they believe that the three of them have the potential to become much stronger than ordinary people. As His Majesty just said, their kingdom is located right after the demon continent, and so they need them to become stronger and crush the demon lord. Sakurai smirked and asked if they really took him for a fool. The protagonist thinks that it seems that the other two do not particularly sympathize with the king either. The man turns to the brave heroes and asks them to open their status windows so they will be convinced of their strength. Then there is an unexpected silence. The boys and girls look at each other and do not understand what is required of them. The man was surprised and said that it was very careless of him because they had never seen a status window before. A man demonstrates how to properly open a status window and what to say at that moment. By simply saying the right command, they can see their current state. Sakurai sees that something has suddenly appeared. The main character realizes that this world is very similar to a game. His nerd blood just boils from this. He also gives the command to open the status window. The girl and the boy are surprised by his sudden action. They look at each other, nod at each other, and also use the command to open their status windows. Sakurai looks at the screen that appears. He was level 1 and his job was a priest. All of his stats were low and his recovery was a whopping 100 points. Sakurai had a support role. He smiled awkwardly and thought that this was the most imbalanced build he had ever seen. So, he had 3 skills, one of which was the language skill. So that's why they can easily understand each other, despite the fact that they are from different worlds. In addition, there is also healing and regeneration. What can I say? These 2 skills are also very useful. And the fact that he has the job of a priest means that he is a healer. The man is surprised and says that he is a healer. This is a very rare hero. There is an advanced job for a healer here called a priest, and the most impressive thing is that he can heal any injury, no matter how serious it is. The young man smiled awkwardly. He simply showed how to aim out of habit, but if you think about it, in this world, aiming is the initial work before a priest. Okay, he thinks that for now he will say that his job is a healer. The girl says that her job is a sorcerer. The man says that this is wonderful and this is an advanced job for magicians. The young man says that his work is a hero. Everyone in the room is shocked. Mr. Watanabe really is a hero. Sakurai knows he sympathizes with him. It sounds like a big problem, but if he's being honest, out of the 3 of them, he's the least heroic. The man says there is one more thing. By leveling up, they can increase their stats as they please, so they should not forget about it. Watanabe asks if he can really raise them himself. He then asks if he can use the 50 points they have. He's not sure which stats he should raise. Sakurai looks at his status window. The man asks Watanabe if he still has his glasses. The man says it must be a gift from the gods because he is a hero. Usually they have to level up to get points. Sakurai understands that it's just like in games, that is, points can be used to level up attack, defense, magic, and recovery. Sakurai then apologizes and says what is the average value for the characteristics here. The man replies that it is usually around 20 to 30 depending on the person's job. If he manages to raise them above 50, then you become so strong that no one will object to you until you want to become a first-class master. Watanabe and Takanashi don't understand what they are talking about, but Sakurai is thinking at this moment. He thinks about 50 points, that his recovery has as many as 100. If 50 is enough to be called a master, then how strong is he with 100 points in recovery? He thinks he has legendary strength. Most likely, this is more than enough to never invest points in him again. He is not sure. He should check it. The young man remembers his old scars, which he had after a traffic accident in childhood. Because of him, he never wore short-sleeved clothes. This is a perfect opportunity to test the skill. The young man looked around everywhere and used the treatment. Then he tries to feel his scar and realizes that it has completely disappeared. I guess this means that he can heal not only fresh wounds but also old ones. Then he thinks that he doesn't need to invest any more points in recovery. In that case, how should he distribute his points? Usually, the first thing required of a healer is not to die. The second is to have a good position, and the last is to heal well. Usually, people think to increase defense first so as not to die so easily. He means that there is nothing wrong with the healer who first aggroes monsters, dying faster than his allies. However, this will be quite boring. Sure, defense is important, but he will still take damage from enemy attacks and, in the end, he will not have enough mana to heal both his allies and himself. So what is the right decision? The young man looks at his status window and starts putting in points. He thinks that he should just avoid everything, so he puts all 50 points into dodging. You can better support your allies if you don't take damage. It sounds weird, but this is the ideal path of a healer, according to the protagonist's theory. And the faster his allies defeat their enemies, the faster they can move forward. Takanashi turns to the boy and asks, addressing him by name, if he has finished distributing his points. The boy answers in the affirmative and says that he has put everything into dodging. The man started shouting and asking what the boy just said. The men were asking if Sakurai had really put all his points into dodging. He should have put all of them into recovery if he was a healer. The man called the boy stupid and said that he would not be able to heal even a scratch and would be just a dead weight for the two. He asks why he did not consult him before. Sakurai was surprised and said that he thought he would be fine if he had 100 recovery points. The man continued to shout, asking if he had any brains at all. He told him that being a healer is a rare job. The king started shouting for them to throw this idiot into prison immediately. He says that this useless man is not worthy of being called a hero. The girl tried to stop His Majesty and said that this was very wrong. She is sure that Sakurai had his reasons for doing this. The king starts shouting and asking how dare they tell him what to do. After some time, the young man was taken down to prison. The knights throw him into a cage and laugh, which one can only imagine that such a useless healer as Sakurai exists. The man swings his fist at him and orders him to die. Sakurai tries to cover himself with his hands, and then abruptly moves to the side and dodges. The guard even froze for a moment. He didn't understand how he could have missed. Sakurai also didn't understand what had happened. The man then also tries to hit Sakurai, but the boy dodges again and again. Another man asks the first man what he is doing. The man says he tried to punch this useless stupid man in the face, but he somehow managed to dodge all the punches. The man told him to stop talking nonsense. Sakurai thinks it's because he put all his skills into dodging. The man swings his leg and asks what the useless aimer will do in that case. Suddenly the man misses, and the young man dodges at that moment. They try to strike one blow after another, but misses. They did not understand what was happening and what was wrong with this guy, because he is just a healer. They both sked and said that it was very disgusting. They then locked the boy up and left. Sakurai laughed and said that it served them right, and then asked which of them was useless now, unlike the soldier who couldn't even hit the healer. Now he's trying to figure out what to do with it. First of all, they called him useless without even checking it. That wouldn't have happened if they'd checked his status window, although the king was very aggressive. He thinks it is better to keep all this a secret for now. Now he needs to figure out how to escape from here. True, he believes that he will not be able to move freely outside. He was called to a rather problematic place. I wonder what those two are doing there now. The only thing he can say is that he now feels sorry for them. Probably, for now, he will think about the future and test his skills. The young man opens his status window and thinks whether he should be injured to use healing. However, if possible, he would not like to harm himself. After all, the reason for choosing such a build is very simple. He does not want to get injured. So, only regeneration is left. Regeneration is one of the basic spells from classic RPGs. He just uses regeneration on himself. The young man uses regeneration and feels a wonderful warmth, like during healing. He does not know how effective it is. He is interested in how many times he will be able to use this skill. Sakurai begins to use skill after skill. His body begins to be enveloped in warmth. He thinks that it feels like being tanned in the sun. He still doesn't feel any discomfort. It doesn't look like he's depleted his mana. There must be some limit to using this skill. Does this mean that his mana reserve is simply huge? If in this world, those who have 50 points in characteristics are considered strong, he wouldn't be surprised if he, who has 100 points in his stats, became the greatest healer in humanity. He's so glad that the king doesn't even know about him. He thinks there's no problem with his healing abilities. He would also like to have a more diverse skill besides healing and regeneration. But then again, he is still level 1, so maybe there will be a chance to raise it in the future. He closes the status and sighs. This warmth was very soporific. He thinks that he will wait a little longer before running away from here, but now he will sleep. Then two people come down into the chamber, a young man and a young woman. The young man says that he is surprised that Sakurai can sleep in such a place. The girl says that he must be very tired after everything that happened to him. The young man says, laughing, that he has nothing to say. Then the girl wakes him up and says that he is a sleepyhead. Then the young man wakes up and rubs his eyes. Sakurai wakes up and wishes Watanabe and Takanashi good morning. The boy was dressed in a knight's uniform, and the girl in a beautiful dress. The young man says that the king has agreed to release him from prison, so they should leave this place quickly. Sakurai smiles and says, "Thank you very much to them." The three of them have been summoned to a completely different world, where a level system like an RPG is the norm. Watanabe asks the boy how he feels and if everything is okay with them. Sakurai says that he is perfectly fine. Then they enter the room, and the young man is surprised that everything here is completely shining, and on the wall there is a picture of the current king. Watanabe apologizes and says that it is a little annoying. Sakurai says that he, frankly, doubts the sanity of the designer. Watanabe suggests sitting down and discussing what they know at the moment. The young man says that if Sakurai is hungry, he can eat all this fruit. They were summoned to this world to defeat the evil demon lord, or so the people of this world said. According to the king, it looks like they will send them home after they defeat the demon lord. Moreover, they will be returned to the exact time and place where they were originally, as if nothing had happened. Sakurai says that it sounds very vague. The girl answers positively and says that they dared to live in luxury. When they trust a bunch of complete strangers with such an important mission, Watanabe says that even if they defeat the demon lords in the future, there's a chance they won't want to send them home. Sakurai says he was worried the boys would believe the king's strange story. The boys and girls shake hands. Watanabe says he thinks he is not so easily influenced. Sakurai says that it seems that they are his true allies. Watanabe says that from now on the boy can just call him Ren, and the girl says that she would be happy if her name were Ruri. Sakurai suggests calling him Hiroki. Sakurai thinks that these are his comrades. He had them in the games, of course, but this is the first time he meets them in real life, and he hopes that they will get along well. In any case, even if they can't trust the people here, he still thinks it will be better for them if they maintain good relations with this kingdom. Ren says that he means that if they have a way to summon someone to this world, they should also have a way to send them back. The girl says that if asked, she is more interested in other races. Sakurai asks again, and clarifies about other races. The girl replies that she heard that the inhabitants of this world can be more or less divided into 3 races. They are currently in the kingdom of Paisnot, which is located on the human continent of Loquat. In addition, there is also the continent of Apricot, where the demons and beastmen live, who live on the continent of Tangerine. However, there is a chance that they can find clues on other continents, especially on the continent of Apricot, where demons live who are very good at magic. What path should they take now? Sakurai asked them if they had been explained how skills worked. The boy and girl gave positive answers. Ren replied that it seemed like there were 3 types of skills in this world. The first is passive skills. Such skills are active all the time, for example, their knowledge of the language. The next type is combat skills. They are activated by wearing special equipment, armor, or weapons, such as creating flames when you swing your sword. Their strength depends on your defense and attack level. The skills he has are of this type. And the last kind is magic skills. With these skills, they can use the mana inside them and turn it into magic. Simply put, Ruri and Sakurai's magic is an example of such skills. The strength of such skills depends on the level of their magic and recovery. Sakurai understands and says that this means he won't be able to become a jack-of-all-trades so easily. It was now clear that they had to find out some information from the humans as well, but still, he couldn't shake the feeling that there must be clues in the other kingdoms, but how should he tell them about it? Ren says that they both plan to stay in this kingdom, so they want Hiroki, but before he can finish speaking, he asks the boy to forget about it. Sakurai says that this is what they should do. Sakurai says that he thought about it too, and he wants to say that there is no reason for all of them to stay here, so he wants to go outside to look for any clues. Ren asks if he'll definitely be okay. Sakurai says that there's no problem, since he's a healer with perfect evasion after all. Ren asks again about the healer with perfect evasion. Ruri says that now that he mentions it, that's really the reason he spent all his points on evasion. That's why he was thrown in jail. The girl says that they distributed their points as they usually do here. That is, knights and mages increase defense, a mage also increases magic, and a knight increases attack. Sakurai says that he imagined something like that. Ruri asks if the boy really knew such a thing, but then she asks why he spent all his points on dodging. The boy throws an apple and says that increasing evasion means you will be able to avoid any attacks. The apple falls straight, but misses the boy's body. Ren and Ruri are surprised. Ren says that it makes him practically invincible. He says that it is really cleverly designed. Sakurai says that he is a good player after all. Ren and Ruri bow. Ren says that now he is absolutely sure that he is the perfect person for the mission. It will be full of dangers, but he completely relies on the boy. Sakurai says to just leave everything to him. To tell the truth, he's a little nervous about what will happen to him when he leaves this castle, but more than that, he can't wait to see the other world with his own eyes. Being a gamer to the core, of course, it's troublesome, but he's still surprised that the king let him out of prison. Ren says that, speaking of this, to be honest, he did not want to tell the young man about it, but he thinks that he must hide something from his comrades. He shows him the bracelet. He says that it is a contract bracelet. The king promised them freedom of movement as long as he wears it. Sakurai is seriously scared and says that Ren is really playing a joke on him. He says that the young man is not free at all now. He asks what kind of contract the king made him sign. Ruri wants to say something, but Ren interrupts her. He laughs and says it's nothing serious. He just can't leave the kingdom without the king's permission. Sakurai gets angry and says it's just a curse. This king dares to treat the summoned hero as a pet, but the worst part is, it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't made such a rash decision. The young man says that he has no intention of apologizing or anything like that. He asks to just wait for him. He will definitely find a way to remove this damn bracelet. Ruri says that he is right. He should not forget about her. She will look for a way inside the kingdom. Ren thanks the people and says that he is really glad that the two of them were summoned with him. They then want to discuss how they will communicate with each other. Sakurai says that if they use their names when contacting each other, he means that the king only knows their last names and that's it. Ren says that Sakurai is right because they didn't say their full names. Ren says that in that case the messages with their names must be traps. The girl says that Hiroki's things are located here. Besides, he should take their things too. He can sell them when he needs money. Ren says that he is going on a very dangerous adventure, and this is the last thing they can do for him. He asks to take his pen and notebook. The girl says that she gives him her mirror and handkerchief. Sakurai accepts the gifts and thanks them. He says that he will definitely bring good news. Ren tells Sakurai to take care of himself. After some time, the burden leaves the royal palace. He looks around and says that it looks just like the Middle Ages on Earth. It feels like he is literally in a classic RPG. It's already getting dark. Should he look for a hotel? But first he needs to get some money and, of course, information. He thinks he needs to find a store and sell things. He sees a lot of adventurers on the streets. He thinks about what he has to sell. He wouldn't want to sell the things Ren and Ruri gave him. Moreover, the battery on his phone will last as long as the power bank. He also remembers that he had 3 small chocolate bars, but there are only 3, so he doesn't think anyone will want to buy them. Does he notice a vegetable stall and thinks that maybe he can use them like that, but he needs to know more about it. He wonders if there are guilds in this world, like in RPGs, something like a tavern or something like that. He turns around and tries to understand why the people around him are looking at him like that. Then he notices his clothes and thinks that they look rather strange and unusual. He thinks he needs to buy new clothes quickly. Healers and magicians usually wear robes, but he would prefer something that would be easy to move around in. Then the young man notices a sign. He tries to figure out where the Adventurers Guild is. Then he opens the status window. He realizes that his status bar is written in Japanese. It turns out that knowing the language doesn't work on text. He falls to his knees and realizes that the sudden end has happened at the very beginning. Then someone approaches the young man and asks if everything is okay with him. Sakurai says that he does not know where the guild is located. In front of him, he sees a cute girl who asks him if he is lost. Then Sakurai realizes that he is being helped like a little child, and it is so embarrassing. The girl says that in fact, she also lost her friends. The girl says that she thinks that she and the boy are in the same boat. She also heads to the Adventurers Guild. The young man then asks if the girl is a mage. She answers yes, then says that she recently defeated the slimes on her first mission, and she was returning back to get her reward. The young man realizes that he can earn money by fighting. Then Sakurai says that he understands everything, and then suggests that they look for a guild together. The girl agrees, but then someone from the wall calls her Tina. They said from the wall that they found her. Sakurai asks the girl if these are her friends. The girl gives a positive answer and says that Floyd and Dine are calling them. They shouted that they were very worried after she suddenly disappeared. The boy then asks Tina who is next to her. The girl says that it is another lost child. The boy says that he is glad to meet her and his name is Hiroki. Tina says that the boy is looking for a guild. Then a man comes up and says he can come with them. The man says his name is Floyd and he is an adventurer. The young man next to him says his name is Dean. The girl extends her hand and says that her name is Tina and she is glad to meet her. Sakurai shakes the girl's hand and says that the feeling is mutual. The man points his hand and calls Sakurai in that direction. At this time, Dine asks Tina if she is okay. Then he shows the young man one place and says that it is the strangest building in the area and he cannot miss it. The man says that this is the Adventurers Guild. Sakurai asks if this is an Adventurers Guild. The man answers positively and says that it looks very reliable. After all, in case of an emergency, it will become their headquarters. The man laughs and says he's not sure a dragon can't get in. Sakurai asks if monsters can really get into the city. The man answers in the negative and then says that the last time this happened was about 100 years ago. Sakurai says that he understands everything and then thinks that he should hurry up and raise his level, just in case. Then they enter the Adventurers Guild. He is happy that he is here, and every gamer would dream of being here. The man says that they are now going to report on the completion of the task, and then he asks if he really needs to register now. Then he needs to go in that direction to the left counter. He tells him to let him know if he needs anything. Then the girl at the reception says her name is Hala, and then she asks how she can help the boy. He thinks that it really is a beastman. Her cat ears are twitching cutely, which means that there is also one beastman in the human kingdom. Her ears, and says that it is very rare to see beastmen here, but unfortunately she is a half-breed. Sakurai apologizes for looking at the girl like that. She says that everything is fine and everything is okay. The young man says that his name is Hiroki and he would like to become an adventurer. The girl asks if he is really here to register, then she will explain everything to him. The young man agrees with the girl. The girl says that usually the Adventurers Guild, in relation to the 3 continents, is a neutral force, and in their ranks there are many representatives of any race, because anyone can join. Sakurai asks if there really are demon adventurers here too. The girl agrees. The girl says that after the young man registers, he can take as many tasks as he wants. They can be taken from that wall over there. The young man says that, to tell the truth, he cannot read. The girl tells the young man not to worry, because he can get advice on assignments right at the counter, like those people. The girl asks the young man to be extremely careful when choosing tasks. There were many who said goodbye to life because they took on more than they could handle. The boy thinks that the girl is right, and no matter how much this world is like a game, It will all be over if he dies. The girl thinks that's it, and the boy can register. Sakurai agrees. Then the girl hands over a piece of paper and says that the young man, in this case, must fill out this form and pay a 3,000 lotta fee. Sakurai is surprised and thinks that it is not free. The girl says that she forgot that the boy cannot read and then asks if she can fill it all out for him. The boy thinks that he believes it will not be as easy as he imagined. He needs to come up with an excuse. The boy says that he has just left the village and has no money, so can he sell some of his things? She says that the guild will be happy to buy them. She asks what the young man wants to sell. But the girl says that this one has very bright packaging and they have never seen anything like it before. The young man says that this sweet is called chocolate. The girl says that she is very sorry, but she is afraid that it will be difficult to exchange it for money. The young man says that in that case, would the girl like to try one chocolate bar? If she likes it, he'll give her the rest, but she'll pay a registration fee in return. If she doesn't like it, he won't ask for money for what she ate. The girl says she thinks one chocolate bar won't hurt her. The girl sniffs the chocolate and says that she has never smelled anything like it before. The girl chews the chocolate and feels nothing. However, then she starts shaking all over and says that it is simply incredible. Sakurai says that he's glad that the girl liked it. The girl says that the chocolate bar began to melt immediately as soon as she put it in her mouth. In addition to being a little bitter, it is also sweet. The girl says that they have agreed, and she will pay the registration fee and buy the rest. Sakurai thanks her for her help. The girl then asks if she can find out the boy's profession and his fighting style. The boy says that he is a healer, and he put most of his points into recovery and evasion. The girl fills out the papers that the boy is a healer, and then his characteristics, but the pen trembles when she hears about evasion. The girl asks if the boy is serious about evasion. Sakurai asks the girl not to worry about recovery as well. The girl says that, according to the boy, he is a healer who has invested very valuable points into evasion. The girl apologizes for being rude and asks if he has a group. The young man says that he is free. That is, one of the reasons why he came here was that he wanted to find allies. The girl says that then she is afraid that there is no one here who will want to take him into the group. The young man is surprised by this. The girl says, you see, healers who don't invest points in recovery are usually not very good as healers, and everyone knows it. Roughly speaking, no one needs them. The man says a healer with evasion is the best build he could come up with. The girl says he should probably leave while he can. The boy says he'll be registering. Then he clarifies and says whether he can find out from these people whether he can join them. The girl gives a positive answer. The boy says he will talk to everyone. The girl wishes him luck. The boy says that if possible, he would like to go around the world, then he should join a really strong group. He apologizes and approaches the group. He says that he is currently looking for a team to join. He asks if they need a healer. The man says that the guy has a very rare profession. Then the young man thinks that they seem to like him. Although this is not surprising, since the healer is in great demand everywhere. The man says that would be great. He then asks the boy if he has any experience in fighting or working in a team. The boy says that he does not have any, but then asks not to worry and says that they will not have to protect him. The man asks what the boy wants to say. Sakurai says that he has a lot of points in evasion and is confident that he will not receive any damage from attacks. The team freezes for a moment. The man apologizes for interrupting him and then says that he doesn't think the boy will join them. Sakurai is left alone. He thinks that if only they could understand the greatness of evasion, however, there is nothing to be done. He must simply find another team. After a while, he sees people sitting at a table. He introduces himself and says that he is a healer and is currently looking for a team. The man says that a healer is very cool. The girl adds that, as he could see, they consist only of vanguard fighters. The young man asks if he can join them. He thinks that this is another good meeting. The girl asks what skills the boy can use because it would be great if he also had a shield. The boy realizes that he doesn't have a shield. The boy says that he's new, so right now he only has healing and regeneration. The girl sighs, and the boy thinks that they may have changed their minds. The man says that as long as he has treatment, he thinks that everything is fine. However, in that case, they need to change their formation. The young man says that it is not a problem. After all, he is a healer with evasion. This time, he is going to properly explain to them all the benefits of evasion. He says that since no attacks can harm a healer with evasion, there is no need to protect him. And even if he takes damage, he can be healed, so they don't need to worry. Suddenly, the man stands up with a bang. They leave, and the man asks the boy to look for someone else. The girl says that besides that, they need another useless member of the team. Suddenly, he notices the elf girl. He sees the huge luggage on the girl's back and thinks that it is too big to be carried by an archer. He thinks that this is who the girl was talking about when she called the team member useless. He assumed that, so he thinks that he will have to carry luggage for the other team, and maybe that's not bad. He forgot that he is not very strong. He thinks he's really confident if it's for show. He suggests that he find another team, that suddenly everyone started to disperse. Everyone has moved away from him, and the young man thinks that it is useless. Suddenly, the girl at the reception desk calls him and says that he can still cancel the registration if he wants. The boy asks the girl if he knows where to find monsters. The girl says that he can run into them outside the city or in a dungeon. The boy understands her words and says if the girl could tell him where the nearest dungeon is. He then asks her to pick a task for him that doesn't involve killing monsters, if possible. The girl says that there are several tasks she can give, but she wonders if he's really going to go alone. It's too dangerous, that is, there are very strong monsters there, which are called bosses. The young man tells the girl not to worry, because he will just look there, and that's it. He says that he will be fine. The girl thinks there is one task that will be safe enough for a newbie. The dungeon is called the Stone Dungeon, and it is located near the city. His task will be to bring some herbs from there. The guild will buy all the herbs she brings, and there is no time limit on this quest. The young man agrees to take it. The girl says that, in any case, although it is possible to complete the task without fighting, the young man will still be subject to attacks by monsters. The boy runs away and says that he thinks he will be perfectly fine, so he ran. The girl tells the boy to be careful. Sakurai says that he didn't even know that the sun had almost set. Normally, he would still call it day, but now he is in dire need of money. Now he will go to the dungeon and collect herbs there, then sell them and rent a room with the money from the sale. Besides, he got some sleep in prison, so he thinks a night without sleep won't be a problem. Then he sees a stone dungeon. It looks like there's no one there. He thinks he'll just go in first. He goes inside the dungeon and says that he now understands. It is difficult to find other words to properly describe it other than a dungeon. He also notices that there is good lighting inside, but he does not see any monsters, and perhaps he will meet them if he goes further. There were many who lost their lives because they took more than they could handle. Since he doesn't think he can be resurrected, he should probably make a map of this place. The notebook he got from Ren comes in handy. He turns the corner and notices a small monster there. This monster is a slug. Suddenly it starts attacking the boy, but misses as he dodges the attack. The boy thinks this is really cool because a healer with evasion is too easy. The slimes should be pretty small fish, so he can defeat one. He thinks he'll just try to attack it. Then the boy swings his leg and kicks the monster to the side. However, the slime takes no damage. He forgot that he only has 1 point in attack. He bets he could easily defeat this monster if he dealt even a little damage. You should think more about his stats. He thinks he should give up on killing the slime now. He wonders if the slime will follow him as he walks around the dungeon. Suddenly, he notices 2 slugs and thinks that everything will be fine if he leaves them alone. He doubts that they will bother him while he is collecting herbs. He needs money for a room and also for clothes, so he needs a lot of money before he can start his adventures. He might have to carry tons of this weed or he thinks he won't have enough. For a long time, the slugs continued to attack. His body itself avoids all attacks. He has already forgotten that they are attacking him. Then the young man sees a ladder, but for some reason the slugs do not go down after him. The boy asks if they really can't leave their floor. If the monster's movement is limited to their floor, it will be easier than he thought. Well then, he goes as deep as his dodge skill will allow. Then he's on the 2nd floor where he is attacked by unknown creatures that look like mice. On the 3rd floor, he was attacked by wolf-like monsters. On the 8th floor, they began to attack in mixed groups. Then, the young man finds the herb the girl had spoken of. She showed him a book of herbs, and said that there were 2 kinds of herbs growing in the dungeon. The first kind was called painkiller herb, and the second, more valuable medicinal herb, just as the girl had said. Now was a great time to gather some herbs. He collects plants, and says that it looks like another kind of plant is growing somewhere else. He decides to go further. Arriving at the 10th floor, he notices that the floor looks more majestic. Perhaps he will be able to collect more grass here. As soon as he said it, he found a medicinal herb, and a whole bunch of it. He considers himself lucky. Suddenly, he hears a loud sound. The young man wonders. What was that? He asks himself what he should do and whether he should run away or trust in Evasion and go and see. Then he understands that he should not run away, but still, he should be more careful. Yes, he will convince only when he receives the first damage, but until then he will go forward. The young man looks out from behind the corner, and then fear is described on his face. He thinks that this monster is definitely on another level. He thinks that this monster is like a damn horned bear. He decides to take a risk and go straight to the bear. He starts to attack the boy. He thinks he knew he would encounter something like this the moment he chose dodge as his weapon. The monster makes a swing, but misses. After several attacks, the young man continued to dodge. The monster did not understand why he could not hit. Sakurai says that it is definitely unexpected, or rather, he would never have thought that it would be easy. He cracks his neck and prepares to continue collecting herbs. Come to think of it, a bundle of medicinal herbs costs 1,000 lots. He thinks he will earn a lot from this easy task. However, he doubts that it would be as easy if he fought him. There should be 20 bundles of grass here, and that should be enough to rent a room. He thinks it's worth it. Then he looks up and sees 5 horned bears who couldn't understand why they couldn't hit the boy. He tries to run away and says that it is not funny anymore. Even if they can't hit him, it is still scary. Suddenly, the young man notices a door. He thinks that there is probably a treasure room there, or most likely it is the entrance to the boss room. He was already thinking about going back, but hadn't he already decided that he would go forward until he took damage? He thinks that he can easily deal with 5 bears, so he thinks that the dungeon boss will be fine. At this time, the bears also continued to aim at his head. All is well, and the young man decides to enter the treasury. He opens the door and apologizes for the intrusion. He looks around the room and thinks that this room literally screams that this is the boss's room. He looks at the monster and realizes that this monster is an orc. Such monsters are the first to appear in games, but to see him as a boss like this is very scary. He is afraid and thinks that this is a scary situation and asks someone to give him a weapon with him. The monster strikes but misses. Does not understand why he missed. The boy starts laughing and jumping around this orc. He sings a song and calls him baby and asks if he wants to win, and then asks him to come back when he grows up. The young man says that he is not really losing to him. Then he decides to see what they have here. Then the young man notices a passage. The orc, following the young man, gets stuck in a narrow passage. The young man thinks that it is probably unthinkable in this world to pass the boss room without defeating him. He opens the door and sees a chest there. The young man rejoices and says that this is a treasure chest. He sees a magic circle right behind the chest and thinks it's probably a teleporter. He approaches the chest and says that this is, after all, a beginner-level dungeon. He opens the chest and waits for the treasure. The young man sees a book inside. He thinks that it may be a magical grimoire, or maybe there is a record of a great adventurer inside. He opens it and realizes that the book is empty. He decides to check again and realizes that it is indeed empty. He starts to get angry and asks if they are joking. He thinks it is rubbish and asks for his expectations to be returned. Then the young man thinks to get himself together, because this is a different world and maybe this book needs to be read in some special way. That is, in games, sometimes certain things are required in order to read a book, for example, to be the first to earn 4 medals. Anyway, now he'll just remove it. Well, now what should he do with the magic circle? He thinks it's a teleporter and should he go in or out? A sign pops up asking whether he agrees to enter the magic circle or not. The young man thinks that if he doesn't try, he won't know. He stands on the magic circle and begins to teleport somewhere. He noticed that he had moved right to the entrance to the dungeon, and it was already morning. It was simply unbelievable. His hands are shaking a little. He says that now he must return to the guild and show what he has obtained. Suddenly, someone from the side told Luchia to move. He looks around and says that there are many people here, from newbies to veterans. At this time, the elf that the young man met earlier jumps out. The young man thinks that this is a little more difficult than playing games all night, but the experiment was a great success. After some time, the young man comes to the Adventurers Guild. He is met by the administrator girl. She says that she is very glad that he gave up the crazy idea of going alone. The young man says that he did not refuse. The girl says that then, probably, on the way he found a team and joined. The young man says that it is not quite so, and he is here to exchange it. He puts the grass he collected on the table. Suddenly, the girl administrator shouts and says that the young man has collected a lot of grass. Sakurai replies that this is indeed so. The girl asks if this is a medicinal herb, since it is incredibly difficult to obtain. Besides, it is of such perfect quality, as if the young man had not even fought. He says that this is because he really had not fought. The girl says that it seems that Sakurai found a really strong group. He says that he was alone and he got this herb using his evasion. He understands, looking at the girl, that she did not understand anything at all and his methods are really strange. After some time, after counting, the girl says that the young man has collected 20 bundles of medicinal herbs and 10 bundles of painkiller herbs. Altogether, it will cost 25,000 lots. The girl hands the boy a bag of money and he thanks her. The boy thinks that with this he will be able to buy things. He rubs his face against his money. He also says that the young man has something interesting that might interest her. The girl asks what it is. The young man says that he found an empty book in the treasury. The girl doesn't understand anything. The young man shows her a book and says that its pages are just blank. The young man asks her. He wonders if she is speechless because it is just garbage. He also thought it was just garbage. The girl starts to tremble and says that this simply cannot be. She holds a real book of skills in her hands. The young man is also surprised by this. The boy says that he can get the skill, but isn't it empty? The girl says that it is empty, and the brown cover is the least valuable kind. But even so, this book costs 10,000 lots. The young man asks if it is true, but the girl tells him that she is not joking. The girl is thinking about using it or selling it. That is the question. The young man says that of course he will use it. A new skill is more valuable than money. The girl offers to teach him how to use this book. First, he must place his hand on the cover. The boy agrees. Then she says that the boy must use any skill he has. The book will absorb his mana and he will gain a new skill. Then the young man uses healing, and the aura from the book covers his entire body. Finally, the young man gets a new skill, a shield. He realizes that he heard a voice in his head. He remembers the girl who said that if the boy had a shield, he would be able to relax. If he were in a group, this skill would be very useful, but he doesn't have a group. The girl asks if he got the skill. The boy says that he got a new skill. The girl congratulates him, and the boy thanks her for it. The girl says that she thinks Hiroki will become a great adventurer, even though he tried all day yesterday to join the group, but he shows amazing growth. Then she approaches him suspiciously and says that those sweets called chocolate were very strange. She wonders what he is like. The boy thinks to himself that he is one of the heroes summoned from another world, but he cannot say it, so he says that he is an ordinary boy from a neighboring country, from a country called Japan. He tells the girl that it is time for him to go, so he thanks her as he leaves. She tells him that if the young man needs anything, he can come to her for advice. Now, before heading to the hotel, he would like to try something. The young man smells a pleasant smell. Suddenly, the man from the shop says, "Is the man really hungry? He has some great shashlik here." The young man says that the man is right, because he spent the whole night in a dungeon without food or water. He will take a couple of kebabs. The man says that one shashlik costs 300 lata. The young man says that he will take 3 pieces. The young man begins to gobble up the juicy pieces of meat. He tells the man that these spices bring out the taste of the meat perfectly. This food is simply delicious. The man laughs and says that he is right. Then he looks around the street and thinks that this place looks like a market. He also asks for juice from another ant and buys it for 300 lots. Then the young man sits down by the fountain and thinks that he needs to rest a little. Then the young man looks around at the people and remembers the words of the guild administrator girl, who said that almost everyone here is human. She said there aren't many beastmen here, but he thinks it's because this is a human kingdom. He wonders if the other kingdoms really have mixed populations too. The young man smiles and thinks that he's in another world, so he wants to know more about its population. He wonders if there are high elves here. Although, if you think about it, that girl who was carrying a huge amount of things was an elf, although he doubts it. If he met her again, he would definitely determine this. Now he decides to open the status. The young man really sees a new skill. He wants to test it, so he decides to move away from the city. The young man then returns to the drink vendor to return the mug and thanks her. The other woman says to the young man that his clothes are rather unusual. The young man looks at his t-shirt and says that these clothes are from his homeland, but he himself thinks that he needs to buy new clothes. He approaches the woman and asks if she has any simple clothes. The woman answers yes. She says that the boy is still young, so these clothes will suit him. He looks at the clothes and thinks that the fabric seems thin, but he will use it for leisure. Then the young man says that he would like to buy another bag. The woman says that altogether it will be 2,800 lots. After some time, the young man decides to test his skills. He goes outside the city and sees a slug in front of him. He thinks that this is great and slugs are just right. The young man thinks that they have not changed and are still just as cheerful. He wants to make pets out of them. The young man then uses his new shield skill, and a layer of light appears around his body. He invites the slimes to all admire his shield. The slime attacks, but the monsters miss. It turns out that he always dodges and can't test the shield. He wonders if the shield will be of any use. He can't go home like this while he's glowing. He thinks that the shield will work until an enemy hits it. He wonders if there is someone stronger here. The young man hears a sound and thinks that there are newbies there. He sees a young man and a girl and realizes that they are Tina and Dina. He wonders what to do with Floyd at this moment. It doesn't look like he is anywhere nearby. Dine attacks with a sword but misses, and the girl uses fire magic. Sakurai thinks that they are just training. It seems to him that they are trying to raise their levels, but do they really need to put in so much effort, although he does not know the norms of this world? The slug then attacks and hits Dine straight, causing the boy to fall. Sakurai is scared by this. The slug then attacks Tina. The boy thinks he should help her, then immediately uses a shield. Suddenly, a layer of light appears around the girl, and the slug bounces off it. The girl is surprised, and the boy realizes that his skill works on others too. Dine yells at the girl to attack. The girl agrees and uses her ability, summoning fire. The slug dies. Dane sighs and says that they somehow did it. The young man sighs with relief and says that now it is time to leave quietly. Then the girl notices something shining in the bushes and calls Hiroki. The young man comes out of the bushes. The girl says that it was really Hiroki who saved them and she thanks him. Dine is also happy about the young man. The young man greets the girl and thinks to himself that he is very glad that he saved them. Dane says that he can call them simply by their names. The young man asks if they are sure, to which Tina replies that she agrees. The boy says he thinks it's a bit difficult with someone older than you, but they can just call him Hiroka. DNA asks about age and says, aren't they the same age? He says he's 15 and Tina says she's 13. Sakurai says he's 19. They are very surprised. Sakurai thinks that he looks younger than his age, and that is problematic. Dine says that it is surprising because they are about the same height, so he thought that they were about the same age. Then Dine starts screaming that Hiroki is in danger. There are several slugs near the boy. Tina screams that there are 3 slugs with him, and Dine asks him why he is standing there and not running away or defending himself. Hiroki says that he will be fine. At this point, Dine shouts for him to turn around. However, the slug misses. Dine and Tina are surprised by what they just saw. They wonder if the slug actually missed. Sakurai says that it actually dodged. Dine says that its body is definitely swaying, but is it really dodging? The boy says that it is. The young man says that thanks to this he even received a skill book. Dane asks if this was really possible. The young man is embarrassed and asks if they could help him kill them. He lacks strength and this irritates him a little. Dane comes to his senses and agrees. Hiroki says that this is wonderful, and if they kill them, they will help him a lot. After some time, Dine and Tina help Hiroki deal with the slimes. As he thought, being in a group is great. He wants to quickly form his own group. Finally, they dealt with all the slimes. Sakurai said that he was glad that he met them. He was sad because he couldn't hit them at all. Dine and Tina were tired. The young man said that it was not a problem. Tina said that she ran out of mana. The young man asked the girl how she was and said that he would heal her now. Tina said that she was fine and did not receive a scratch, and all thanks to his shield. She was just a little tired because she spent all her mana. The young man thought that if you use many skills or spells, you will get tired. Then he suggests that they rest a little. Sakurai says that using the shield is a bit of a hassle because as soon as he activates it, it starts glowing. Tina replies that maybe he used it in a hurry and forgot to set it up. The boy asks about the setting, and Tina replies that in her case, she can control the power of her spells by the amount of mana spent on using them. The boy asks what about his shield. The girl says that usually the shield protects from 5 blows, but by reducing the number of blows, the strength of the shield can be increased. The young man understands and thinks that he should try. He should imagine a shield protecting him and Tina, a shield for 5 hits but not shining. He uses the shield and suddenly the glow disappears. He realizes that the glow has really disappeared. The girl asks if everything is okay if he protects her with the shield too. The young man asks what is wrong. The girl says that the shield's power will simply be distributed between the two of them. Sakurai says that in that case there is no problem. Dane says that the boy is very strange. Sakurai asks why, and Dane replies that he is much stronger than them, but nevertheless, he does not know basic things. The boy yawns and confirms Dane's words. The boy says that it is the widest yawn he has ever seen. The boy says that he has not slept at all since yesterday. Sakurai says that after that he thought about going to look for an inn. Dine says that he advises him to stay at the Shooting Star Inn. It has clean rooms and, more importantly, excellent food. He says they're staying there too. Floyd's probably still asleep from his drinking. He's the poster child for a hopeless adult. Sakurai then says that this is great and then asks why they continue to sit here. He suggests that they go to the hotel. The young man tells Tina to climb on his back and he will carry her. The girl starts to get embarrassed and says that she is completely fine and they wanted to hunt a little more. The young man says that the girl ran out of magic. Tina says that while they were resting, she recovered a little. The young man says that in that case he will go first. He suggests that they meet at the hotel. Tina says that they will see each other. After a while, Dine says that Hiroki is simply incredible. The girl says that he is. She's never seen anyone fight like that. Sometime later, near the Falling Star Inn, Tina and Dine return in the evening, and the next morning, Floyd takes them on an adventure. At this time, the young man wakes up. He goes downstairs and says good morning to everyone. The woman who was clearing away the dishes said that she was sure that the young man slept like a log. Sakurai says he is sure he fell asleep in the morning, but then why is it still noon? The woman says that in fact he slept all day. The young man says that he should have guessed, and it is not surprising that his body is full of strength. The woman says that the young man must have been very tired yesterday. The woman brings the boy his free breakfast. Sakurai says he looks delicious. He starts eating his breakfast and says it's absolutely delicious, and he's never eaten anything like it. The woman asks if he's really Floyd's friend. The young man agrees and says that they are very kind to him. The woman says that this is not surprising, because Floyd is quite annoying. The young man asks if Floyd's group really stayed at this hotel. The woman says that they are private guests at the hotel, but unfortunately, they have recently left. She has heard that the young man is a newcomer. She gives him another dish and says that it is on the house. The woman tells the young man not to be shy, and if he is unsure of anything, he can turn to her. She will do everything possible to help. The young man thanks her. In this case, the young man asks if there is a store nearby that sells equipment. The girl says that she knows one excellent store very well. She asks to give her a minute to draw him a map. The young man eats the dessert and says that it is simply wonderful and that he will be shown a great store. Then he comes to the store and says that the building looks very good and has proven itself to be excellent. The young man goes inside. He says that everything inside also looks quite exquisite, and besides, the goods here are also very attractive. A man meets him, and the young man is very surprised that the man is a gnome. The man says that the young man has a strange outfit. He sees an adventurer and asks what class the young man is. The young man says he is a healer, and the man shows him the robes and which way they are. Sakurai smiles and says that he is looking for comfortable clothes that will be comfortable for dodging. The man asks why he is looking for such a thing. The boy says that it is because he has put all his points into dodging. In fact, he thinks that a healer who can dodge any attack is the best. He asks if the man thinks so. The man says that the boy is really very strange. But unfortunately, no team wants to accept him, and he really thought it was a great idea. The man is ready to bet that the young man made the biggest mistake of his life. The man says that the young man had to play around with his characteristics like that. He thinks that the young man should forget about becoming an adventurer. Sakurai denies and says that he does not regret at all that he spent everything on evasion. The man asks what, even though no team will accept him and what he will achieve alone. The young man says he doesn't care if he's alone. He seems to have prepared himself for the worst. The man says he was sure he would one day meet someone who would understand him. The old man will root for the young man. Just like them, the monsters will only become stronger and stronger. They will adapt, and when they meet heavily armored adventurers, they will fight even more fiercely. However, he doubts that there are many monsters that can stand up to agile adventurers. The youth believes that this is true. Even if you are a high-level adventurer, If you do not invest points, your evasion will always be 1. The young man is very glad that the old gunsmith agrees with him. The man says that it will not be easy for him to find a team, however. The young man knows. Then the man asks the young man how much money he has. He says that he has something around 15,000 latas. The man says that this will only be enough for some non-enchanted equipment. For enchanted items, at least 50,000 lots are needed. The young man asks about enchanted items and asks if this is the equipment that increases your stats, like the one they use for forging. The man says that it is so. He asks the young man if he knows that they, the gnomes, are the best at blacksmithing. The young man begins to beam and thinks that he knew all along that he was a real gnome. But what's more important is that he didn't know there was enchanted equipment here. The man says he should try touching them. He'll understand what the man is talking about. The boy touches them and sees that the armor has +3 points to defense. The boy asks the man if he has anything that increases evasion. The man asks if the boy really thought he had such junk. Sakurai asks again, but the man tells the man not to look at him like that. The man says it's too early to give up. If there's no such thing here, he'll just do it for him on purpose. The young man says that he understands and then he will earn some money. He asks the man if this will suit him. The man says he doesn't mind. The young man thanks the man and asks if he needs 50,000 lots. The man tries to grab the boy and stop him, but misses. The boy turns around. The man says that he has enough money for unenchanted equipment, so he suggests that he go and choose it. He will be able to enchant him for evasion later when the young man has saved up money. He calls him to follow him. The young man agrees. He shows him different equipment and asks if he likes it. The boy asks if the man really made it himself. The man says his niece made the gear. They often argue because they disagree on whether design or functionality should be prioritized. The young man notices the suit and asks the man how much it will cost. The man says that it actually costs more than 15,000 latas, but he will give him a discount. The young man is happy. He offers the young man to try it on. He puts it on and says that it looks like it was tailored for him. The man laughs and says that the young man doesn't look like a healer at all. The boy says he is sorry, but he has no desire to lie about his class. However, again, he pretends to be a healer when he is actually a priest. Then he thanks the man for everything. He says that he will go and collect more herbs so that soon he will have money. The man asks about the herbs and then clarifies whether the young man is collecting them in the slime cave. Sakurai clarifies about the slime cave. The man is surprised that the young man did not know about it. It's a dungeon where there's nothing but slugs, but there are also lots of different herbs growing there. The boy says it sounds like there's a gold mine there. The man says that everyone thinks so at first, but the slugs attack in such numbers that there is no time left to collect herbs. The young man says that sounds interesting. He asks the man to tell him where exactly this dungeon is. He says that of course he will tell him, but asks him not to tempt fate. At least once a year, some newcomers die there. The young man is surprised by this, to which the man says that he had better give up on this idea. The young man says that he'll be fine, and he is confident in his evasion. The man says that the man is indeed confident in himself. In any case, he should collect herbs only near the entrance. He gives the man money, and the man thanks the young man for his purchase. Then the man notices the jewelry. The man asks if he is also interested in accessories. The young man denies this and then asks if the man by any chance has accessories for concluding contracts. The man apologizes and says that it is incredibly difficult to find something like that here. The young man says that he is simply looking for a way to break such a contract. The man apologizes and says that he has never heard of such a thing. The young man, with a sad expression on his face, thanks him for his help and then says that in that case he will go to the slug cave. The man asks him not to forget his advice and not to even think about going inside the cave. Then the young man notices the signs, and most likely these signs are warning signs, although he does not know what is written there. He thanks the people, and so with their help, he can easily find the cave. True, there are a lot of them. Then he sees a mountain and assumes that the cave is here, but it doesn't look dangerous at all. Then they see wild animals drinking water from the river, and there were slugs splashing in the water nearby. The young man says that it is very visible. Then he turns around and says that it is time to go inside. He enters the slime cave on the first floor and says that he immediately found several slimes. The slimes begin to attack the young man, but miss. They do not understand why their attack did not work. Meanwhile, the young man went further. He looks around the area and says that this cave is really full of herbs. He starts collecting herbs and says that the dwarf man didn't lie and this really is the best place to collect herbs. He also didn't lie about the number of slimes. He looks around and sees that there are already 5 slimes. They were jumping around him and trying to attack. He rubs his chin and says that anyway, except for the painkiller herb, he couldn't find anything on this floor. He wonders if he should go down. The young man remembers the words of the man who told him to collect grass only near the entrance. The hero really wants to keep his promise, but here he will not be able to achieve great success. To enchant the armor, he needs 50,000 lots, and although he has already paid for a night at the inn, he does not have enough money for another day. There is no way he can earn that kind of money by collecting only painkiller herbs. Despite the fact that he bought these clothes at a very good price, he doesn't have a penny to his name right now. The young man looks at his bag where the money should be, but it's already empty. In other words, he has no choice but to go down to the floor with the healing herb. Luckily, the slimes can't follow him to the next floor. Therefore, he will go down to the floor with the medicinal herb and collect the herb that is located next to the stairs. In any case, he needs to find the stairs as soon as possible, but suddenly, in a short time, there are already 10 of them, and it is starting to get annoying. Ahead, the young man notices another large group of slimes. He realizes that there are many more of them than he expected. Including those already near him, there will be about 20 of them. He won't be surprised if with that many slimes he can't dodge. However, he has no choice but to go further, because now the most important thing for him is to earn money. Finally, he found the stairs. He thinks that finding her was not so difficult. Suddenly, the young man stopped and thought that he still does not know the limits of his evasion. Although he could dodge the attacks of the boss in the stone dungeon, he still doesn't know how good he is. He can dodge. The young man is surrounded by a huge number of slimes, which cannot harm him in any way or even hit him. He says now is the perfect time to find out. Besides, he wants to know exactly how many slimes he can dodge. It's time to experiment. He understands that he should try not to stray too far from the stairs. He also wonders where slimes come from in the first place. If they are slimes, then could it be that they are capable of simply dividing infinitely? Then he thinks about how they are even now reproducing by division. Then he notices how everything around him started to blur. He wonders why. Then he suggests that it might be because of the shield. He remembers how Tina told him that usually the shield protects from 5 hits, but by reducing the number of hits, you can increase the strength of the shield. So the shield is still active even though he cast it on himself yesterday or even the day before. But what's more important is that his shield has activated, which means he can't dodge anymore, and that's the limit. There are about 30 slimes here, and it looks like it won't be that easy to dodge them all. Besides, he doesn't want to end up like those adventurers the dwarf told him about. Now it's time to finish the experiment. He doesn't have time to finish speaking before he decides to turn around and sees a huge number of slimes. The young man is very scared. There was an unrealistically large number of slimes behind him. They began to attack the young man, and it turned out that his dodge did not work. The young man began to feel pain. The slime's attacks are stronger than he imagined. The boy uses healing and a shield and then runs straight to the stairs. He has to get out of here. He turns around and can't understand how many slimes have gathered here. Although they are very cute, he is absolutely sure that the sound of slimes will give him nightmares. He runs up to the stairs and jumps down onto the steps. Slimes can't get down onto steps. The young man sits down on the steps and tries to catch his breath. He was very scared. He thinks that now he knows what the limit of his dodge is. Still, he shouldn't have underestimated the slimes. But instead, he accidentally created a whole cave full of slimes. The young man then goes to the second floor of the cave and says that it is quite strange that since he went down to this floor, he has not seen a single slime and there is only medicinal grass here. He then hears a sound typical of slimes and says that he finally came across them, but then he notices a slime that has a rather strange appearance. He realizes that the slime looks different somehow. He tries to figure out if it's ears or arms. Suddenly, the slime jumps up. The young man realizes that it's wings. He realizes that this slime is very cute. Then the boy sees that the slime is very tense, and he realizes that the monster is using a skill. The young man is surprised by this, and then something hits him from above. The young man tries to jump back, but he realizes that he cannot move. He gets scared and thinks that he is now paralyzed. The young man falls in the position in which he fell and decides to use the healing skill, but it turns out that the skill does not remove the paralysis effect. It looks like a different spell is needed to remove debuffs. When he comes to town, I'll definitely need to buy something for that. The boy tries to understand what such a strong slime is doing on the second floor. Then, suddenly, the slime starts to attack. He tries to keep his calm because his shield is still activated. Suddenly, the slime attacks. Suddenly, the slime misses, and the boy tries to understand what happened. He thought that because of the debuff, his body would not move even a millimeter. He could not imagine that evasion would be activated even in such a case. For some reason, the boy feels like a tree dancing left and right from a light breeze. He thinks about how strong his dodge is. The slime starts to attack, but the boy dodges while lying down. After some time, the slime is already exhausted. The young man asks the evasion to see what it has done. The poor slime's pride was completely trampled. But as much as he wanted to feel sorry for this slime, the paralysis effect was almost over. Once that happened, he would win this battle. At this time, the slime flies up into the air again and uses its skill at full power. It hits the young man again and he says, "What? Again?" So he just waited for the debuff effect to weaken. Slime thought that this time he would definitely succeed and he perked up. The young man wondered if this would really go on forever. Then the only thing that awaits the young man is death by starvation. He screams that he will not allow this to happen, but even so, he has no way to attack the slime, so what should he do? Then the boy sees someone in the distance. People say that they need to stop because it is too dangerous here. Another person says everything is fine. The main character understands that there is someone here. He is very happy and then screams, calling for someone to help him. These people turned out to be Floyd, Dime, and Tina. The girl is the first to notice Hiroki and calls him. Floyd asked if it was really Hiroki. The young man called Tina, Dane, and Floyd and even started crying. He says that it turns out that he and Floyd were able to get here. He says that God will bless Floyd. The man asks what the young man is doing here alone, because it is very dangerous here. Floyd began asking the recumbent Sakurai if he was okay. The young man replied that he was hardly okay. The boy then yelled at Floyd to be careful because this slime could fly. The man realized that this slime was the one that defeated Hiroku. He just felt like this slime was a little too much for him. Floyd tells Hiroka not to worry, they will take care of him now. He tells Dine to check the surroundings and Tina to use fire. The boy and girl accepted the commands. Suddenly, a slug starts attacking Sakurai. Floyd yells at him to be careful, but the boy deftly dodges it. Floyd froze for a second and didn't understand how he was able to dodge. Dine said that the boy actually saw it for the first time. Tina said that Hiroki was a real master of dodging, and Dine called the boy very strange. The man looked at the slug, who was struggling and crying because he couldn't hit the boy. The man said that they would tell him everything later. First, he lunges and says they need to knock some slime out. He swings and attacks the slime. He jumps back, and Tina attacks with a fire spell. The man hits the slime again and tells it not to even think about attacking Hiroki. The slug is thrown from side to side. It attacks Hiroki at the same time, but the boy continues to dodge. He thinks that despite the damage it received, the slug is still alive. The young man realizes that he seems to have underestimated it. The slug continues to try to attack people. At one point, it flies towards Floyd. The man is afraid to dodge, but the slug attacks him. Hiroki watches all this and uses his healing ability. A pleasant aura envelops Floyd's body. The man thanks the young man for his help and treatment. The man then attacks the slime. It flies away. The slime falls to the ground and does not get up again. Finally, the flying slime has been defeated. Dine and Tina are happy that they have succeeded. Floyd approaches the young man and helps him turn over. The protagonist thanks them for their help. Floyd is glad that the young man is okay. Floyd takes the boy on his shoulder and says that they are now returning. After some time, Tina gives Sakurai a potion for paralysis and asks how he feels. Suddenly, the boy jumps up because the potion is very bitter. Floyd offers to give him some water. The boy laughs and thanks the guys for their help. Dine says that since the boy jumps up so much, everything is fine with him. Anyway, he is incredibly happy to see them all because he already thought that he would die there. Tina says that Dane really wanted to go to the lower floors, although she was very scared, but she is still glad that they went here. Sakurai turns to Dine and thanks him. The boy replies that he did nothing in that battle, but Sakurai says that Dine was very useful. Sakurai says that this cave is a very dangerous place, so why did they come here? Dine asks if the boy knew that the lower levels of this cave are the perfect place to train in fighting multiple opponents. Sakurai remembers that the slimes just above are incredible. Floyd asks about it. Then they look at the top of the stairs, and there are a huge number of slimes that can't get any further up the stairs. The boy apologizes to Floyd, Dana, and Tina, and says that while he was running away, these guys continued to chase him, but they must have gotten here first. Dine is very surprised by this. Floyd asks why he didn't just kill them, and also he moved weirdly when he dodged the slimes. Dine says that Hiroki can dodge almost any attack, but he can't deal any damage. Floyd is surprised by all this. He asks the boy if he really came to such a dangerous place, despite the fact that he can't kill anyone. He starts laughing really hard at Sakurai. The boy asks what else he could do, since no one would take him on their team after he told them that he put all his points into dodging. He continues to laugh and says it's too funny. Tina says Floyd laughs too loudly. Dine points to the pile of slimes and asks if it doesn't look like a slime buffet. Floyd also looks at them and says that maybe as long as they stand on the stairs they can't attack them, but there are quite a few of them there. Dane says that in that case, they won't be able to get out of here. He calls them names and suggests that they all do it together. Floyd takes out his sword and says that there is nothing to be done and suggests that they do it. Tina also tells them to wait and then suggests that they give the bracelet to Hiroka as well. The boy asks what bracelet they are talking about. Dine laughs and points out that the boy is talking like a complete newbie again. Tina explains that she is talking about the band bracelet. While they wear this bracelet, all points they earn will be distributed equally. He puts it on and says it's the same bracelet Tina has. Dine says she and Floyd have bracelets under their gloves too. The young man thinks that with this he can finally get some experience. Then Floyd puts the sword on his shoulder and suggests that they all start lighting up. Dine was also ready for the fight. The boy uses the shield even on Floyd and Dine. Dine thanks Sakurai. The boy replies that it's just a trifle. After a while, notifications started popping up that the slimes had been defeated. Dine said the slimes ran out faster than he thought. Floyd said most of them escaped. They apologized to Hiroki for getting much less experience than they expected. The young man says that they helped him a lot. Thanks to them, he was able to get the second level. Dine starts shouting and asks if the boy was mistaken when he said he got to level 2. Sakurai is surprised and says that maybe he was mistaken. Floyd smiles at the boy and asks him if he wants to join them for real, which Sakurai is surprised by. Tina says that's a great idea. Sakurai asks if they're sure about that, since he's a healer with evasion. Floyd says he's sure about that and why not. Sakurai also says that he has problems with his head. Dine asks, so what? Tina is happy and tells Hiroki that they can become stronger and that way they will be able to learn much more about their world. The boy is surprised by the girl's words and smiles. Sakurai asks Dine, Tina, and Floyd to take care of him. Everyone starts shouting enthusiastically. Floyd says it's time for a drink. He suggests the boys throw a welcoming party for Hiroki when they get back. Tina tells Floyd he's already too drunk. Dine says he's at it again. The protagonist thinks that he won't get bored with them. Then he rustles through his clothes and takes out a handkerchief and a notebook with a pen. He remembers Ren and Ruri and then looks at his new teammates. The young man thought that they would create a team together, but joining Floyd, Tina, and Dine is not such a bad option. After a while, Dine says it's time to continue their hunt. Tina agrees. Soon, the team made their own group formation. Dine was the vanguard and walked ahead of everyone. Behind him was Tina as the rear guard, or attack. Next came Sakurai and Floyd. Sakurai was the rear guard and healer, and Floyd was the guard. The boy thinks that makes sense, although he is not sure that there is usually a guard in the group. The young man counted the number of hits his shield could take and used it as it regenerated. He was glad they let him join, of course, but he put all his points into dodging to make the hunt more efficient. And in the line, when they can't move forward until they've defeated all the enemies, he feels completely useless. It would be more effective if he acted as bait, and Dane and Tina attacked on the move. Then the boy calls Dane and says, "Isn't he tired?" Sakurai offers him to switch and go ahead. Dine says it's too dangerous for someone like him. The boy says Dine knows he can dodge anything. Dine says he's fine and to just leave it to him. Dine tells Hiroki to listen carefully. The vanguard is his duty. Even if he can dodge, he still has to protect everyone. He asks if the boy thinks he is that unreliable. Sakurai says he understands. Floyd thinks the boy is a little out of place. He thinks the boy has joined a pretty strong group. Sakurai laughs awkwardly. Even so, they should have already seen how useful his shield and evasion are, but that's just as he thought. In that case, it's the same as if they completely denied the usefulness of his build. The young man felt something and involuntarily lifted his leg. He was surprised by this. It turned out that a slug was aiming at his leg but missed. Floyd laughed at this. He said that the young man could really dodge anything. The young man laughs and tells the slug, calling him Monsieur, that he is too persistent since they barely know each other. Dane noticed this and asked the boy to be careful. He jumped towards him and started moving towards the boy with his sword. Dane asks Hiroki what he's doing and asks him not to interfere. Sakurai says that Tina is also in the rear guard. Dane says that's of course. At that moment, the slug attacked Tina and the girl screamed. Sakurai asks Dane to look towards Tina. The young man immediately rushed towards her and asked her to be careful. Sakurai asks him to be careful. Sakurai said that Tina will be fine because he put a shield on everyone. Dai looks at Tina. The slime attacks her, but he can't hurt him because the girl has a shield. Floyd turns to Dine and says that it looks like he just needs to cool down a bit. Dine says that having a healer is so convenient. Tina says that Hiroki is incredible. The boy is embarrassed and says that it is not like that at all. Sakurai says that they haven't defeated those slimes yet, so they mustn't let their shields break. Tina and Dine are surprised by this, and Floyd sighs and smiles. A little later in the evening, a shooting star appears in the hotel. The young man lies on the table and says that he is very tired. Dine was also lying on the table and apologizing to Hiroki that for some reason he couldn't fight at full strength. Sakurai thinks it's not surprising, since even after that they continue to argue. Sakurai said, apologetically, that Dine should try harder next time. Dine shouted that he would do his best next time. Sakurai told the boy not to overexert himself. He was just a nice guy anyway. Floyd suggests that they forget about it and have a drink together. The young man thanks him. Floyd drinks to the new member of their group, Hiroki. They all clink glasses of alcoholic drinks. Floyd offers Sakurai to drink to the bottom. The young man says that he is not allowed to drink strong drinks yet. The woman working in the tavern asks if Floyd knows that their inn is good, not only for strong drinks. Floyd is glad that she finally came. Dine says that the food is worth the money and that Madam is the best. Flowen starts laughing, and Sakurai and Tina start eating. Floyd then asks if Sakurai has heard rumors of a hero in this kingdom. The boy is surprised that rumors about Ren have already spread. After Floyd asked if Sakurai knew that there was a hero in this kingdom, the man said that everyone probably wanted to meet him at least once. Sakurai realized that rumors had already spread about Ren. They'd been summoned only a few days ago. The young man asked Floyd where he had heard about it. Floyd asks if Hiroki is really interested in a hero too. Hiroki says it's something like that. Dine says of course, that is, every kid would like to be a hero. Although it's not something he can talk about, he was also summoned along with the hero. Dine says that he heard that the hero is currently trying to level up. Sakurai is surprised by this. He recently went to a very dangerous dungeon. There were many traps and monsters with various debuffs. Floyd says that what's more, he also heard that he was cursed. The boy is surprised by the word curse. Floyd says he hopes the hero took that terribly expensive cleansing potion with him. Then he falls asleep. Tina says she knew Floyd would fall asleep again. Dime turns to Hiroki and tells him to just ignore it. He's always drinking, even though he gets drunk so easily. Then they are going to continue their welcome party. Everyone agrees, and this time the glasses were full of juice. Sometime later, that same night, the young man left the hotel. He went to a stone cave. Why did he go underground so late at night? The young man realized that everything was simple. He had no money left. The young man sighed and thought that while he was crawling around here collecting grass, Ren and Ruri were raising levels in dangerous dungeons. They should have gotten bonus points after being summoned, and they should be fine, but he doesn't think they are the type of people who would risk their lives recklessly. The king must have forced them to do this. The young man realizes that he needs to become stronger, and to do this, he must level up. Then he remembers that just thinking about it will make him level 2 in the afternoon. Sakurai reveals his status. Then he notices his second level, and the extra point he got for the level. Now he realizes that it's no surprise that healers who spend points on anything other than healing are just trash. Usually, before getting the master rank, everyone focuses on one skill, but to get it, you need to put 50 points into the skill. Perhaps the male gnome was encouraging his fellow stubborn human, not the healer with evasion. He is very glad that he did not tell anyone about his characteristics. They would probably start to perceive him as some kind of monster, since evasion and recovery together give 150 points. He thinks that it is worth increasing evasion again. The next morning, the boy returns to the hotel and sees Floyd there, who has a splitting headache from the day before. He apologizes to the boy and says that he is out for the day. Dine says good morning to the boys. Floyd walked up the stairs saying he would leave everything to Dine. Sakurai says that Floyd looks really bad. Maybe he should get some help. Dine says that it's okay, he's always like this, so he suggests they get out of here. Tina approaches the protagonist and asks if everything is okay with him. The young man asks what the girl means. Tina asks if the young man had a good rest last night. Sakurai laughs and thinks that there is no sleep for a minute. He then asks if they should go to the guild first. Dine says that everything is fine and they still need to take a couple of quests. After a while, they arrive at the capital's guild. The girl at the reception desk says that Sakurai's grass is of excellent quality as always. She then asks if the young man has seen the notice board and says that a message was left for him there. The young man asks what message the girl is talking about. She confirms and says that it was left by a certain Ruri. The young man remembers the girl and that they agreed to give their names. Ruri is a high school girl who was summoned to this world along with the protagonist. Ruri is a true lady, so she and Ren decided to protect her. The girl at the reception desk reads the letter. The girl calls Hiroki dear and says that she will wait for him in 2 days at the plum bar. Since the message was left yesterday, the meeting should take place tomorrow night. Come to think of it, she asks for a meeting so soon, so what bad happened? Tina asked the young man if he was ready to go. The young man said that he was already on his way. After some time, the group arrived at a stone cave. Tina said that this was their first time going underground without Floyd. Dine said that everything would be fine with them because Hiroki was there. The young man apologizes and says that he is not that good. The boy uses the shield, placing it on Tina and Dine. Dine thanks the protagonist for protecting him. The young man says that although he was here at night, he went here again. He decides to mark this place on the map, but suddenly he is surprised by something. He saw some path and realized that it was the shortest way to the stairs. Suddenly, Dane says that he found something. Then they come to the stairs on the second floor. Tina says that they can't go there because it's too dangerous to go to the second floor alone. Dane says that he thinks everything is fine, and besides, shouldn't they practice yesterday's formation? The boy is surprised by his words. He smiles and says that in that case they will do it. Tina says that Hiroki is in the same boat. Dean says that this is all great and then suggests that they go ahead. On the second floor, they met the mice that the protagonist had already met on the floor. Dine attacked and notifications appeared that the wild rat had been defeated. At this time, the young man notices that one of the wild rats is heading straight for Tina and Sakurai. He clicks his tongue and, at this moment, dodges one of the mice. At this time, the mouse that attacked Sakurai failed to hit the young man and missed. Tina used fire magic and attacked the enemy. Sakurai said that Dine and Tina are doing well. They are slowly but surely honing their teamwork, so he is confident that they will become a great team in the future. Dine tells Hiroki that they will advance after killing all the enemies. He asks if he understands correctly. A notification comes that all the rats have been defeated. Sakurai says that Dine was simply magnificent. Suddenly, Dean notices that the mice dropped a quest item. Suddenly, a man walks by and yells at Luchia to get her legs here faster. Dane, Tina, and Sakurai turned their attention to them. The man approached the boy and said, "Isn't he the healer who approached them earlier?" Sakurai greets him. The man says that he was able to find a team for himself after all, so much the better for him. He then looks at Dean, Tina, and Sakurai. Then he says that they are going to the lower floors, but what about them? A girl comes up to him and tells him to stop teasing the poor boy. Then an elf approaches them with a lot of luggage. They leave, and the girl says that they will see each other on the next floor if they don't chicken out. The young man recognizes the girl as a real elf. Sakurai's acquaintances leave. Dine and Tina ask if Hiroki really knows them. The young man replies that it's not that they know each other, they just exchanged a few words in the guild. Tina said it was a strong team. Dina says nothing special, but they are just a bunch of stupid people. They spent the entire day on the second floor hunting rats. The next day, they honed their teamwork with Floyd fully recovered. After sunset, the young man said goodbye to Floyd, Dine, and Tina. He said he still had things to do, so they could leave first. After some time, the young man comes to the plum bar. The girl Ruri was waiting for him. She saw the young man and greeted him, telling him to come here. The young man also greets the girl. Everyone in the bar paid attention to him. They called him a guy and said that he had arrived. At that moment, the young man asked how long she had been waiting for him. The girl answered that she had just arrived. The girl asked how the boy was doing. Although judging by his new clothes, he was doing well. Sakurai replied that he was doing well. He had earned a good amount of money doing herb-gathering quests. There were already drunk men sitting in the bar, who were carefully watching the girl and the boy. Sakurai asked about Ruri. He heard some rumors about them. They say the hero levels up in very dangerous dungeons. He also heard that there are monsters in them that can cast very strong curses. He asks them to be careful. The girl sat silently. Sakurai thought, why is she silent, and don't tell me he's right? The girl made a serious face and told Hiroki that Ren had been cursed. After that, a mark similar to a snake's mark suddenly appeared on Ren's body. It's not that bad now, but the curse will slowly consume his body and eventually kill him. Moreover, the purification potion had no effect, and they had no idea how to remove this curse. The young man repeated that this curse would kill him. The girl said that what was worse was that although the king said he was looking for a cure, he was actually doing nothing. She, too, tried to find a cure. She searched the royal library, asked every scholar she could find, but unfortunately she found nothing. Sakurai replied that he understood everything. He would try asking the guild and other adventurers. The girl thanked him. He asks not to thank him, because he would never let Ren die. The girl said that, like her, the three of them came into this world and they will return home also as three. The girl smiled. Hiroki asked if Rory was tired of this bad king. The girl replied that everything was fine. Right now, the king has only ordered them to raise their levels. They themselves want to become stronger, so it's not that bad, since their interests coincide at the moment. The young man asked what level the girl was at. She sits down next to him and opens her status. She asks him to see for himself. The young man is surprised by what he sees. He looks at her stats and thinks it's just amazing. Her stats were top-notch. For example, her magic was 18 points and her defense was 60. The girl says that she hunted with Ren after all. The girl asks him not to worry, because he will catch up with them soon. The young man says that he will do his best. He realizes that the girl also seems to have acquired some new skills. Suddenly, drunk men approach them. They call the young man a pretty boy and ask if he is having a good time. The second one asks to join them. Ruri and Sakurai were about to get up and leave, but one of the men leaned over the girl and called her young miss. He asked her not to be such a bore and to play with him a little. Suddenly, Sakurai appeared between them and shielded the girl with his body. He asked them to stop. The men did not understand what he was trying to do. The man swung his sword and shouted at the boy to get away from here. Then Sakurai dodged. A second blow followed, but the boy dodged this attack just as dexterously. The girl put the bag of money on the table and told Hiroki to go away. The young man agreed, but the man asked where the young miss was going. They looked at the girl with a disgusting smile and asked why she was so cold towards them and whether the girl liked bad boys. The two men rushed at her, but the girl used an earth spell and suddenly something alive wrapped around the men's legs, and then she used a wind spell that tore off the men's clothes. The girl says that, compared to her children, these guys are like two little puppies. Sakurai was very surprised at this moment and asked the girl again about her children. Ruri asked if she had said that. Sakurai thought that Ruri was another fragile girl they had to protect, but she might be the most dangerous of the three. The boy walked down the street and thought about Ruri's words when she said that Ren was cursed by a monster. He thinks that if nothing is done, he will die within a few months. He thinks that Ren is in trouble again. The next morning, Floyd questions Sakurai when he asks about how to lift the curse and asks if the boy doesn't know. The man says that there are potions for this. They are divided into basic, standard, and advanced. That is, there are 3 different types. Sakurai asks if there are better potions than the advanced ones, to which Floyd replies that they can be found in dungeons, in chests, or ordered from the Science Academy. Although the ingredients are extremely difficult to obtain, making it nearly impossible to order them. The young man understands and thinks about chests or the academy. The chests are empty until you kill the boss, so he can't farm these chests. He learned this while collecting medicinal herbs. And, according to Ruri, nothing else will help. Floyd says that perhaps the demons have made progress in their research into breaking curses. The boy asks about these demons. Floyd says that demons are usually more knowledgeable about magic and curses. Since the demon continent is filled with magic, many explorers and alchemists flock there. That's why there are many research labs there. Sakurai thinks about demons. Floyd says that you can ask about demons at the guild. They should have demon books. The boy asks about the guild. Sakurai asks if he can visit the guild before they leave. Floyd agrees and says why not. Tina asks if she can go to Hiroki. Floyd tells Tina that would be great. Sakurai thanks the girl. After a while, Sakurai and Tina leave, and Floyd wishes them luck. After some time, they arrive at the capital's guild. He asks the girl at the reception desk about how to remove the spell. She replies that if the hero needs a potion, they can buy it from a shop, or find it in a dungeon, or order it from the academy. If they need skills, they have high-ranking books that they collect. The boy says he understands. He thinks about going to a dangerous dungeon to get the skill book. He thinks it is impossible now. Then Tina apologizes and asks if they have demonic books on pharmacy. The girl at the reception desk says that they have such books. The young man does not understand what they are talking about. A minute later, the girl brings them a book. Tina thanks her for her help. Sakurai asks why the girl didn't offer the book herself. She answers that it's because His Majesty the King has prejudices against demons. The young man understands this and thinks that perhaps Ruri was unable to find anything because she was looking in places under the king's control. The girl says that since they are a neutral guild organization, they have such books, but they cannot show them openly. Tina says that is why, if you do not specifically ask for demon books, they will not offer them. Sakurai realized that this kingdom was eager to defeat the demons. Tina then opens the book and shows the boy the section on removing curses. He says that it is very good. The girl at the front desk is surprised by this. Tina examines the book and says that to brew the potion, they definitely need the apricot grass. The boy asks about the apricot grass. Tina says that it is a medicinal herb that contains a large amount of mana. The boy sees an image of the apricot grass. Tina says that the apricot grass is a medicinal herb that grows in some special regions that are only found on the demon continent. Sakurai asks again about the demon continent. He remembers what Floyd said about it. The girl says that this is the continent of apricot and that real demons live there. The young man remembers the continent of apricot. If it's named after a continent, it's definitely there. Sakurai apologizes and asks the receptionist if he can leave a message. He thinks about telling Ruri about this. Tina says the demon continent. She would like to go there one day when she becomes a strong adventurer. The receptionist girl says that Miss Tina definitely has every chance of doing this, since at her rate it will take 1 or 2 years. The girl says that she is looking forward to it. The young man listens to them attentively and says that 1 or 2 years is too long and he will not make it in time. There are many dangers on the demon continent. He thought that it was not worth dragging Tina and the others into this. Then Floyd and Dine approach them. They ask Hiroki and Tina if they are ready. After some time, they come to a stone cave. The young man gives the shield to Floyd, Dane, and Tina. They all thank the young man for his help. The young man looks around and thinks that it is quite crowded. Dine turns to Floyd and says that now he can work with Hiroki. The man is happy. After a while, they go down the stairs into the cave. Floyd says that today they will go to the 5th floor. Tina, Dine, and Sakurai agree. There were many people on the 2nd floor. Sakurai noticed this. Everyone was training and killing the mice that lived on this 2nd floor. The others tried to figure out if the monsters hadn't appeared this time. They stood there waiting for someone to notice. Tina says that it is very peaceful here. There are not many monsters, as there are many other adventurers here. Sakurai did not respond to her words, but continued walking silently. He thought about going to the demon continent, and there might be some problems with it. The main ones were money and firepower. Money aside, firepower is a serious issue. He even thinks that maybe he should hire a strong adventurer. Tina notices Hiroki's thoughtful face and asks the young man if there is something bothering him. Hiroki comes out of his thoughts and is surprised. Tina says that the boy has such a thoughtful look. At this time, Floyd asked Tina to use magic, and Dine asked Hiroki to use his shield. Suddenly, a mouse injures Floyd. Tina, scared, says she is very sorry. Sakurai also apologizes and uses heal and then shield. Floyd says that even if there are few monsters here, they shouldn't let their guard down. Sakurai winces at the reprimand and says that they are very sorry. After a while, the group arrives at the 5th floor. Tina suggests that Dine and Floyd take a little rest. They sit on the steps to rest. The girl hands Hiroki a flask of water and asks him to drink it. The boy thanks the girl for this. Then Floyd turns to him and asks as if the boy has something to say to him. The man says that Hiroki seems too sluggish today. He asks what happened to him. Sakurai is surprised by Floyd's words. Then Dine notices the people in the aisle and says it's the same crew again. Floyd says he's right. They looked really bad and the woman and man were really angry. Floyd said they looked really bad and then asked who they were. Sakurai asked what happened to them. Dean said they had met them a couple of days ago and he had a really bad feeling about them. The man hissed and then saw Sakurai's group and said it was them again. He was climbing the stairs and swung at Dine, telling him to get out of his way. Floyd pulled the boy towards him and said it was very dangerous. Sakurai thought that they all looked very wounded, but since they were already returning, he thought that there was no need to treat them. Then an elf followed them. The girl tripped and fell. She hit herself so hard that she screamed in pain. Sakurai immediately rushed to her aid, and the man hissed in anger. The man went to the girl and said that Luchia was absolutely useless. He came even closer to her. The girl raised her head and looked at the man. He bends down and tells her that he will take her things. Sakurai thought that despite everything, they are still a team. The man then throws the bow to the girl and says that they will go first, so the girl should go back on her own. Sakurai was surprised by this, as were Tina, Dine, and Floyd, while Luchia's team member looked at it as if it was normal. The girl tried to lift and asked her team to wait, but she suddenly tripped again and fell because her legs could not take it anymore. Floyd asked the man to stop and what his comrades meant to him. The man said that Lucia was tired and they gave her a chance to rest, so what was the problem? He would like to get out as soon as possible. Floyd called the man a very terrible person. At this time, Tina and Sakurai ran to Luchia. The young man immediately uses the cure on the girl, and Tina holds out water and offers the girl to drink it. They give the girl water to drink. She thanks them for their help. Sakurai said that this elf team is just disgusting. There were many wounds on Luchia's body. Soon the elf felt better, and she thanked Sakurai and Tina for their help. The girl says that her name is Luchia Plum, and she is supposedly an archer. Sakurai says that if he gets into trouble, he will count on the girl. He says that his name is Hiroki, and he is a healer with Evasion. Then they looked at each other. The boy asked what it meant, and Lucia asked about dodging. Tina introduces herself, and says that she is a mage. Then it is the turn of a knight named Dane, and the man introduces himself as Floyd, and he says that he is some kind of security for these guys. Dane says that being a member of that company is still the worst thing that can happen. He doesn't understand how anyone could ask their comrade in the dungeon. The girl sadly says that she also caused a lot of trouble, even put them in danger, but she didn't think that they would leave her. Sakurai asked about the dangers. The girl says that she put all her points into attack. The boy remembers about accuracy, which gives the probability of hitting the target. He asks if the girl has forgotten about accuracy. Lucia sadly agrees. Dine says that if the aim is low, you can hit your allies, and that is very dangerous. Sakurai asks if that is why the girl became a porter. Luchia agrees. The girl says that there is probably no group that would accept such an archer, so she carries things all the time. Sakurai realizes that he has a feeling of déjà vu. He asked how the girl lived before she became an adventurer. The girl replied that she hunted near her village. Those monsters, if they are not killed with one shot, they become dangerous. Sakurai asks if that means she's killed monsters before. The girl says yes, and says she shoots until she hits. Tina says that if the only problem is that the girl can become an ally, then they have Hiroki. Lucia doesn't understand what the girl is talking about. Sakurai agrees and says that they should try it. Then he stands up and says that he will bring a couple of monsters. Lucia also did not understand what was happening. At this time, Dine asked the girl to get ready because Sakurai will return soon. Then he says he's back. Lucia screams because she doesn't understand what's going on. There are a lot of killer moles around the boy. The elf screams that it's very dangerous. The boy asks Lucia to attack, but the girl said that she had already said that it was very difficult for her to hit and that she might hit her ally. Sakurai said that it was okay and that he would simply dodge. The girl looked at him questioningly and asked if the boy was really dodging. Sakurai said that if she was worried, he could use a shield. The girl said that she understood, and then took out an arrow and took her bow in her hand. She shot the bow, and the arrow flew straight at the young man. Lucia was incredibly scared, but the young man was able to dodge it. He told the girl to look, that everything is fine. He asks her not to worry and to continue shooting. The girl understood and began to pull the bowstring again. Then suddenly she hit the mole and managed to kill it. The girl was even embarrassed that she had finally got there. She was incredibly happy. The young man was glad that one had finally been killed. Then it turned out that the arrow had flown right through and killed another mole. In the end, the girl had killed 2 moles with 1 shot. Everyone was incredibly surprised. She was delighted and said that she was incredibly happy now. Hiroki said that there were 3 more left, so he asked Lucia to continue. The girl agreed. There were many misses, but eventually the killer's moles were defeated. Floyd says that even so, the damage to Lucia was absurd. The girl was happy and told Hiroki that she did it. The young man congratulated the girl. Floyd watched them and said that it was very good. He said that he thought the girl would not want to go back to that group, so would she like to join them. The girl asks if she can really join them. She says that as long as Hiroki is here, she can be useful. Tina is happy and says that she is against Lucia joining. Dine also said that he will not give up in strength. The young man thinks that it is hard to say such things now. However, to obtain the apricot grass, he must go to the demon continent, where many dangerous monsters live. He cannot allow Floyd and the others to follow him to such a dangerous place, so he must go alone. However, he needs to say it. The boy says, "What about their team?" He says that he will change places with Luchia because he needs to go on a trip. They let him join them. He was very grateful, but he had to go. Tina asked about the journey and told him that they had to go together. Floyd told Tina to stop. The man asked the boy where he wanted to go. The boy said that he wanted to go to the demon continent. Floyd says he understands, but they can't go with him. Sakurai says he doesn't want to involve them because he's running out of time. The boy says that it concerns his friends' lives. Tina replies that in that case they must go together. Floyd tells Tina to stop, because they will only get in his way. The girl starts crying and asks if this means the young man is leaving. He strokes the girl's head and apologizes. He says everything is fine and asks not to worry. The girl says that she will become stronger and will wait for him. Floyd asks the boy if he is really leaving right now. The boy agrees. Tina asks if this is really the last time they will hunt together. Hiroki answers yes. Tina suggests that they give it their all. She asks Floyd and Dine to show what they can do. Dine agrees. Floyd says that they need to change the settings of Lucia's bracelet. The girl thanks them. The man says that they need to think about building without Hiroki. Then the protagonist offers them his own idea. He suggests that Lucia should attack if the enemies are far away. If they come close, they will fight back as usual. Lucia then moves back and covers their rear. Floyd says that this formation sounds very good and suggests that they try it. Lucia says that if no one is around, she can shoot a bow and arrow and do her best. Hiroki says that he will support them one last time. Soon they reach the 5th floor and then the 7th floor, where mini-orcs appeared. As they progressed through the dungeon, the group began to interact better. Many arrows started flying at them, but one of them still hit. Lucia said that she managed to hit again. Sakurai was delighted and said that the girl could shoot continuously. He was very surprised by this. The girl giggled in response. Sakurai thinks that even though Lucia's accuracy is incredibly poor, her ability to kill with 1 shot makes up for it. At this time, Tina uses fire magic and says that she will also work hard. At this time, Dine and Floyd attack the monsters with swords. Finally, the mini-orcs were defeated. Sakurai said that they were advancing again and used shield. Dine was surprised that a shield appeared at that moment. The girl replied that she would not be able to attack if they continued to attack like this. At this time, Tina used fire magic. While Tina was using fire magic, mini-orcs appeared behind Sakurai and Luchia. Luchia said that they were already behind and very close. The young man asked everyone to move away. He ran out to the mini-orcs to get their attention. The boy said that everything was fine and they were attacking him, so Lucia could attack without any problems. The girl agreed. The girl pulls the arrow and releases it, but misses. She's very tense, but the arrows just can't hit the target. Sakurai realizes that the interval between attacks is large. He calls Luchia and asks if the girl can shoot faster. Luchia agrees, and Sakurai thinks that even if the girl understands, she's afraid to aim at a person. In that case, he says that it is pointless to aim at them. He offers the girl to aim at him, and doesn't the girl want to try? Lucia is shocked by the words of the young man. Sakurai smiles. The girl agrees and says that this time she will shoot for real. The young man dodges, but the arrows hit the orc straight. He says that the girl shoots incredibly fast. Finally, the mini-orcs were defeated. Sakurai tells Luchia that this is very cool. The girl was amazed that the boy dodged all her arrows. Sakurai says that it seems so. He thinks that they will have a lot of fun now. The young man suddenly realizes that he will soon leave. At this time, Tina says that she has to work harder. She uses her fire magic. She tries to make more fire and hit harder. Sakurai thinks that Tina and Dine have grown a lot these days. He can leave without regrets. Suddenly, he notices something. The boy says that Tina doesn't look well. He asks if he needs to treat her. The girl says that she is fine, and then falls down and loses consciousness. The young man was very scared, and running up to her, used his healing ability, but the girl did not regain consciousness. At this time, Floyd finished off the last mini-orc. Floyd said that Tina ran out of mana. It is not life-threatening, she just spent more than necessary. Sakurai thinks that Tina's mana has run out. He realized everything, and the girl simply spent all her strength and then lost consciousness. He asks why the girl is so reckless. Floyd says she probably just wanted to show off. Sakurai asks what the man means. Floyd suggests going up first, then asks if he can leave Tina with Hiroki. The boy agrees. He understands that he will have to go to the very top, although he is least confident in his endurance. Now is not the time to think about such things. At this time, Tina called Hiroki. After some time, Floyd, Dine, Lucia, Hiroki, and Tina get out of the dungeon and head to the entrance of the capital. Floyd says that now it's time to rest. Sakurai asks if Tina will be okay. Floyd says she just used up all her mana. She'll be better after resting. He says that the girl has become very attached to Hiroki, so it is very difficult for her to accept the fact that he is leaving. She wanted to go with him and overexerted herself trying to prove herself. The man says he will take the girl to the hotel. He turns to Hiroki and Lucia, asking if they can sell the materials. The young man says no problem, and they will do it. They say goodbye, and the boy says that they will be back soon. Lucia asks the boy that he must be very tired. Hiroki says that he is perfectly fine. He asks what about Lucia after what happened with that group. The girl says that everything is fine, she just didn't fit in with them, but here she feels that she fits in with them. Sakurai says he was a little surprised by this too. He thinks that even if he leaves, she will still be a good fit for them. The girl says that is most likely. After some time, Hiroki and Lucia come to the Capital Guild. The young man greets the girl at the reception desk and says that he is back. Then the girl notices Lucia next to Hiroki. The young man says that this girl is now in Floyd's group. Lucia says that her previous group threw her into the dungeon. The girl is incredibly surprised by this. She says she'll have to reprimand them, then makes a note in her journal. Lucia says she feels like it's a blessing in disguise. The girl replies that if only it were so. Hiroki interrupts them and asks if the girl could buy all these materials. She says that it goes without saying. In the end, they got 15,000 lata for the materials. The young man thanks the girl and leaves. Suddenly, they see a man in front of them who was a former member of Lucia's team. He asked if they really took Lucia into their group. He was incredibly angry. The boy recognizes the man as the former leader of Lucia's group. He asks him what he wants. The man leans over to Hiroki and says that the only one who could take the useless archer is the useless guy with the dodge. The young man looks at the man's face and realizes that he is very angry, and then asks what he should do in such a case. Everyone in the guild pays attention to this brawl. Suddenly, Lucia bursts into the conversation and says that Hiroki is not useless at all. The young man asks the girl to step aside. The man shouts that the girl dared to say such a thing to him. Suddenly, he raises his sword and says that now he will show how useless the boy really is. He aims straight at Luchia, but Hiroki suddenly appears in front of her. The receptionist yelled at them to stop because fighting was prohibited in the guild. The man aimed straight at Hiroki's head, but missed because the boy dodged. Everyone was surprised by this. The man told him not to dare to irritate him. He tries to hit him again, but the boy crouches and dodges. Everyone understands that the man can't hit Hiroki. No one understood what was going on. Hiroki thinks that he is dodging his attacks because of his high stats. The boy dodges again and again. The man shouts that he has got him already, and then he draws his sword. Everyone around is afraid of what is about to happen. The man strikes with his sword, but he misses again. The administration girl closes her eyes. The man swings and says that the young man is caught. Suddenly, someone grabs him by the shoulder and tells him that he is the only one who got in here. The man thinks that the rebel will be very upset by the cancellation of the license. The man tenses up. Then he looks at Lucia. The girl proudly turns away from him. He blushes, turns around, leaves, and says that he doesn't really need the girl. Sakurai sighs and says that he is exhausted. Suddenly, everyone starts to rejoice and shout enthusiastically. The young man does not understand what is happening. The man said he was sure the boy would be killed, but he dodged incredibly cleverly. Others asked how the elf was feeling. She always carried their things, so people were worried about her. They are very happy that the girl changed groups. Lucia thanks everyone and says she is now part of an amazing group. The man says he is the host today, so he offers everyone a drink. The girl thanks them for their generosity. Sakurai says they should go back. Sakurai says that their comrade got hurt in the dungeon. Everyone realizes that the boy and girl must be worried about them. Then the boy approaches the male guard and thanks him. The man replies that it is just his job. Lucia then thanks the young man, and he replies that he is glad that the girl was not hurt. At this time, Tina was deep in sleep at the hotel. The girl wants to become stronger with Hiroki. She also asked questions about how long he was so important to her. She had a dream where the young man was saying goodbye to her, and she begged him to stop and said that she would be useful. She did not want to be separated from those who were dear to her. The girl wakes up in tears and screams for Hiroki to stop. Dine grabs her hand. He's glad that the girl has woken up. Then Tina notices Floyd nearby. The girl looks around. Dane says they are at an inn. The girl has passed out from magical exhaustion. He asks if the girl remembers this. Then the girl realizes that the conversation about Hiroki leaving wasn't a dream after all. Dine tries to calm the girl down. Tina covers her face with her hands and says she's terrible. The girl apologizes and says she used too much mana and then passed out and caused everyone a lot of trouble. She says that Hiroki must be fed up with this kind of thing. Dine tells the girl that she shouldn't worry about it because Hiroki isn't that kind of person. Floyd points out that the girl is so worried about being separated from him. He says that you can't always spend your whole life with someone you love. You have to be grateful for the time you spent together and how they changed each other. The girl talks about the time they spent together and notes that Floyd is right. She has no time for tears because she told Hiroki that she will become stronger. She then asks if Floyd and Dinah really were kept awake all this time because of her. She apologizes for bothering him and smiles awkwardly. She then thanks them for everything. Floyd tells the girl not to worry about it because the girl is feeling better. Tina agrees, and Floyd says that there is still time before dawn, so the girl should continue to rest, and Dine should go to bed. Tina smiled sweetly and thanked Dean for his support. The young man asked the girl not to be so reckless again. The girl apologizes, and Dean wishes her good night. The next morning, the girl comes down from her bedroom and sees Hiroki there. The young man says that he is glad that the girl is feeling better. The girl bows and apologizes for the inconvenience. The young man says that everything is fine, and he just needs to be more careful next time. The girl says that even though he is leaving, she asks him not to forget about her and the group. Hiroki replied that this is, of course. He met her once in this world and is sincerely grateful. The young man tells the girl that he will think about her in his free time. The girl is very embarrassed, and Hiroki asks where Dine and Floyd are. Tina replies that they are asleep, as they were very worried about her and went to bed late, especially Dine. Then the owner of the hotel comes into the room. She asks if the girl is awake yet. She says that she will bring breakfast now so the girl can sit down. Tina turns to Miss and says she has a favor to ask. She says it's a little selfish, but in gratitude for yesterday, she asks to be allowed to make breakfast for Dane and Floyd herself. The woman says that it is very sweet. She also offers to give her some advice. The girl expresses her gratitude. Lucia says that the breakfast Tina prepared sounds tempting. Sakurai says that he is sure that they will like it very much. Lucia then asks where Hiroki will go. The boy says that he will go to the guild because he needs to find information on how to get to the demon continent. Tina asks if Hiroki is really leaving their group right now. The boy says that he won't be leaving right now. He will stay here for the night. Besides, once he finds the apricot grass, he will come back right away. They apologize for leaving after being accepted. Tina tells him not to worry about it. It would be great if he found the herb quickly. Hiroki says that the girl is right, but he thinks that he must do everything possible to remove Ren's curse. The king has bound the hero with a one-sided contract. Ren will eventually receive a death curse. He will not allow everything to turn out as the king wants. Lucia looks at the young man who is thinking. Then she interrupts his thoughts and calls his name. The boy responds. The girl asks if the boy will take her as his partner. Sakurai is surprised by what he hears, and Lucia looks on with complete confidence. The girl asks the boy again if he will take her as a partner. Hiroki replies that he already said that the demon continent is dangerous. Lucia hopefully says that only next to Hiroki can she fight at full strength. The young man understands that the girl says very true things because he had the same thoughts. Lucia is well armed, and friendly fire is not the problem with him. Her ideal partner is very close. However, he is really happy with the girl's offer, but she is already in Floyd's group, so he cannot make such a decision alone. At this point, Floyd said from the side that the young man should not worry about it. He yawned and went down the stairs. Hiroki asked if he was really awake. The man greeted everyone. Floyd asks if that's bad. Lucia is the best companion for him. Tina is very upset by Floyd's words. Floyd also says that if the young man had accepted her offer, he would have been able to leave the city much earlier. He suggests that they go underground to check. The monsters in the underground levels of the Morifukaki dungeon are said to be similar in strength to their demonic counterparts. Hiroki says that if Lucia doesn't mind, they can go. The girl says that she will give it her all. The young man offers her to try. Floyd says he needs to eat and then calls Miss. Tina comes out and asks him to wait a few minutes. Floyd looks questioningly after Tina, while Hiroki and Lucia smile sweetly and stand nearby. Then the girl looks out of the room and says that Hiroki and Luchia will make a great team, so the girl will keep her fingers crossed for them. The young man thanks the girl. Sometime later, after breakfast, the girl and the boy set off. They come to the carriage square, and Lucia says that to get to Morifukaki, they must take that carriage. The young man enters the carriage and says that it is very big, just like a bus. Lucia looks questioningly and thinks about what a bus means. The young man then sits down and sees a sitting archer in front of him who had a huge number of arrows in his quiver. Hiroki asks Lucia where she gets the arrows from. The girl says that she has a special bracelet for this. The ability to create an arrow allows her to manifest arrows, the number of which depends on the rarity of the bracelet. The young man looks at the bracelet and thinks that it must be made of very precious metals, since he can create as many arrows as he wants. He asks what the bracelet is made of, or a chalcum, or adamantite. Lucia apologizes and says she doesn't know its name. The boy says it's really very convenient. Lucia laughs and the boy thanks her and says that's one riddle less. The girl then calls him by name and says that since they are partners, he will be happy to try his best. The young man is embarrassed by her confession and agrees. After a while, they get off the cart. Lucia says that it will take them about half an hour to get to the dungeon. It turns out that Morifukaki's map is only filled up to the 15th floor. The young man said that he is not the very last one. The girl agreed and said that the map only shows the levels that adventurers have been to. She suggests having fun going floor by floor. Hiroki says it sounds really cool. Finally, they arrived at the entrance to Morifukaki. They were met by a male merchant who asked them if it was really their first time here. He asked if they needed a map. The boy agrees, and the man gives him a map. Lucy offers to buy some food. Hiroki sees a lot of things. He asks if there is something here that can attract more monsters to him. Lucia asks why he would want to involve monsters. Hiroki says that they won't attack the girl, and they can easily gather them together so she can shoot easier. He asks the man if he has anything like that. He replies that of course he has. He offers a jar of potion and says that if they drink this potion, then all the monsters will attack only the one who drinks it. He says that one bottle costs 2,000 lata. The young man says that it is quite expensive. The man says that one bottle lasts about 3 hours. Hiroki understands that 3 hours will be enough, so he buys 3 at once. He sighs and takes out the money, then says that the life of an adventurer is not easy. Sylvie suggests collecting more materials to sell. The young man opens the bottle and drinks the drink immediately. Its taste was simply disgusting. Luchia asked if the young man was okay. He replied that he was perfectly fine. He thought that attracting all the monsters was a ridiculous price to pay for such a thing. The boy uses the shield and casts it on Lucia. Then they enter the dungeon on the first floor and see a large number of people. The young man says that it is quite crowded here. Luchia agrees with him. Then Hiroki hums a song and suggests that the girl move slowly. After some time, they come to the 6th floor. The young man is surprised by this and says that it is as if he is in a forest. Lucia also says that it is very beautiful here. Then a killer moth appears. Lucia thinks that a killer moth is a bit weird. Hiroki says he agrees. Then the boy calls the girl and asks if she really doesn't hate him. There were many monsters around the boy who attacked him but couldn't hit him. Lucia was scared out of surprise. The girl screamed in horror and immediately began shooting from a bow. The young man suggested not to slow down and get out of here as soon as possible. The girl agreed with him. After some time, the girl hits the monsters and kills them. The young man picks up the remains of the monsters and says that it is better to pick up the materials. The killer moths began to attack them again, but after a while, the heroes come to the 7th floor of the stairs, where the moths cannot reach. The young man said that they were all exhausted because of the swarm of moths. Lucia says that he managed. They collected a lot of wings. The girl was patting the boy's jacket to remove dust. Hiroki asked her how she felt, and if she really didn't hate him. She replied that it was not the boy's fault. She simply hated moths very much. The boy smiled and thanked her. Then he said that the monster-attracting potion works great. They will kill many monsters with it. He suggests that she rest a little and drink some water. The girl agreed and then said that she will drink water after the boy. Hiroki thinks that they have come this far in just an hour. If the difficulty continues to increase, he thinks that the first potion will run out by the 15th floor. Then he realizes that they did not initially think about whether 3 potions would be enough. Trying to get to the boss with this is too risky. In this case, it only costs 1.5 potions to go down. He would like to try to defeat the boss together. He thinks that might be it for today. He thinks that to return it will be enough to focus on Luchia's shield. The girl pulls him out of his thoughts and says that even though this is a test, they are still partners, so she would like to discuss everything together. Hiroki is surprised and calls her by name. He understands that there is no point in thinking about everything alone. He says that the girl is right, and then he explains everything to her. The girl listens to him attentively. The girl says that they need to hurry up and move on. She thinks that together they can do well here and on the demon continent. She is completely sure of it. The young man said the girl's name and looked at her sweet smile. He said that he understood everything and thought that he needed to get to the lower floor. The girl completely agreed with him. After some time, they arrived at the 16th floor. Lucia said that they had reached unexplored floors. At this time, the young man began to drink the second potion. After a while, they come across a monster that looks like a small boar with mole-like paws. Hiroki said that this monster is quite strong, and Lucia said that the bigger they are, the easier it is to aim. Then they arrive on the 20th floor. Hiroki thinks that the effect of the second potion is almost over. He suggests that Lucia hurry up and look for the stairs without fighting. The girl agrees. Suddenly, a monster appears in front of them, but it can't hit them at all. Then they see an entrance with stairs. Hiroki thinks that this is very good because the potion was just enough. They go down to the 21st floor and walk up the stairs. Everything nearby was sparkling, and the girl thought that this was an incredibly beautiful place. She leaned against the shining wall and asked the boy if the material was amber. Hiroki replied that the lower floor should be close. The girl replied that she thought so too, and then smiled. Hiroki says that the effect of the action is almost gone, and asks if they should take a break for a while. Luchia says that sounds great. They take out dried meat and a sandwich from the backpack. Lucia asked the young man if he was tired, to which Hiroki replied that he was not tired at all and that it was probably harder for the girl since she was shooting all the time. Lucia says not at all. Instead of thinking about being tired, it's better to fight while you have the strength. She says she's full of energy, but suddenly yawns. Hiroki asks if the girl really wants to sleep. Lucia replies that she does a little because she hasn't fought like this in a long time. She smiles and asks if they can stay here for the night. The young man agrees, but says how will they sleep without sleeping bags? Shouldn't girls find such places disgusting? Lucia says it must be normal for adventurers to sleep on the stairs. The boy says that in that case they can stay. He thinks he's the only one who is not used to it. Then he feels something and sees Lucia fall asleep on his shoulder. He thinks that the girl worked so hard, so it is no wonder that she is so tired. He thanks the girl for trying so hard for him. He wishes her good night. If he goes with Lucia, he's sure they'll reach the demon continent, but he's hesitant about taking on such a big responsibility. Then he thinks he falls asleep. The next morning they all wake up together. Lucia says it's a great day to beat the boss. Hiroki says that Luchia is in a great mood even after such a dream. He also fell asleep before he could come to his senses. The girl says that it is also very beautiful here. The boy then uses the shield and places it on Lucia. The girl thanks the boy. He then drinks the potion and the girl squirms because it looks disgusting. After a while, a black dog appears. Lucia said that it appeared very quickly. The monster strikes and hits the shield. The young man was surprised that he did not miss and hit the target. At that time, Lucia was releasing an arrow from her bow, and she was very afraid for the young man. He asks the girl to calm down because he had a shield. She agrees and continues to shoot arrows from the bow. Hiroki told the girl to ignore him and keep shooting, because that's the only way they'll become partners. The girl agrees. The girl places 5 arrows on her bow and shoots them all at once. She hits the black dog right on the spot. Hiroki is surprised by this and asks if the girl can really shoot 5 arrows at once. She says that she needs time to shoot. She was very scared that the monster hit him. The boy says that his dodging is probably still not enough. Then he notices that something has fallen from the monster. He thinks it is something rare. Lucia recognizes it as a demon stone. It is an extremely valuable material for equipment. Hiroki thinks they are lucky and then suggests killing some more monsters. Lucia agrees, so they kill some more black dogs. Then they see a door at the end of the tunnel and realize that it is some kind of very depressing atmosphere. The girl says that it must be the boss's room. She thinks it's a very exciting moment. Then they open the door slightly and try to look inside. The boy is curious to know who the boss is. Suddenly, they see a 3-headed dog and realize that it is a real Cerberus. Cerberus is usually the final boss of the game, but why did he appear here so early? The protagonist didn't understand what Cerberus was doing here. He realized that the lower levels of Morifukaki were so complex that no one dared to go there. Then they simply had no other choice. Lucia wonders if this is too much. Hiroki's dodge is astounding, but this is too much. The boy agrees with her, but he wonders if the dodge tactic will work in a boss fight. He says that everything is fine because they have a shield. He tells Lucia that when the Cerberus attacks him, she should press herself against the wall and move to the back of the room because her goal is the exit. The girl does not understand what the boy means. He tells her not to shoot the monster under any circumstances until she gets to it. She asks if the boy is really going to let the boss through. He agrees and asks her to watch carefully. That passage is pretty narrow. Cerberus won't fit through there, and they'll be safe. The girl says it might work, but she asks if that's cheating, to which the boy replies that their team is already cheating. He says that they came here to see what they can do together. The girl says that it is true. She says that she will not let him down and will definitely become Hiroki's partner. The young man agrees and asks, by the way, if the potion works to attract the attention of monsters to bosses. Lucia replies that she has never used it in such a case. The young man understands that the girl does not know the answer to his question. He thinks that means it could theoretically work, although in games it's normal, as he thought, if he had to be very careful. He gets to work, and Lucia screams at the boy to trust her. He hopes that 3 levels of shield will be enough for him, and then uses his skill. He calls the dog to him. Cerberus wakes up and stands up to his full height and starts baring his teeth. Hiroki is scared and thinks that he is incredibly creepy. He tells himself to pull himself together, because Lucia was standing behind him, watching. Suddenly, the Cerberus raised its paw and began to attack the protagonist with great speed. However, he missed because the boy was able to jump away in time. Hiroki looked down with relief and was glad that he was able to dodge. However, the monster's strength is simply incredible. Cerberus used his sharp jaws, but the young man was able to duck in time, so the monster's attack was again in vain. Hiroki shouts at Lucia to go to the passage now. The girl says that she understands, and then slowly starts moving along the wall. The young man looked at her and mentally encouraged her. Suddenly, the monster attacked with its paw right at the young man's back and hit the shield. He was unable to dodge. Lucia was very scared and pulled out the arrow, then shot it straight at the monster's head. She didn't miss, and the boy asked why the girl only hit at moments like this. Then he noticed that the potion to attract monsters didn't work, and the Cerberus started heading straight for the girl. He realized that the potion's effect was too weak. The young man rushed towards the girl and used the maximum power of the shield. The monster tried to hurt Lucia, but the shield worked and the girl was not hurt. Then he struck with his paw, and Lucia's shield dissipated into the air. The young man used the shield again, but realized that he was suffocating. He jumped right in front of the girl and shielded her with his body, then used the shield on himself. Lucia apologized at that moment and said that she panicked. Hiroki smiled and said that everything was fine because the monster had him in its sights again. He ordered the girl to run to the exit again and quickly. At that moment, the monster attacked him right in the shield. The girl agreed and ran away. Then she arrived at the exit and shouted to the boy that she was there. Hiroki said that was just great. The girl said, pulling the arrow, that she was attacking, and then told Hiroki to run here while she had the monster in her sights. She attacks the Cerberus and hits him right in the head. The girl says that everything is fine and he just needs to run to a safe place. Suddenly, the Cerberus ran straight towards the girl. Hiroki shouted her name and told her to be careful. The girl moved away into the depths of the passage, where the Cerberus's head climbed. Hiroki shouted to the girl and asked if she was okay. Lucia replied that she was fine and that it would be much easier to hit him now. The girl knocks the arrow and then attacks the monster blow after blow. Hiroki is surprised and says that the Cerberus was -1 head. The monster began to gnaw the place where Luchia was. The girl replied that she would continue shooting. The second head of Cerberus was soon defeated. Hiroki said that he thought it would be better for them to just run away, but if this continues, they might even be able to defeat him. Suddenly, the Cerberus turns sharply and attacks the young man, but at the last moment he uses a shield. However, due to the attack of the monster, the shield is destroyed. The young man did not understand what was happening. He immediately used several skills: shield, regeneration, and healing. Lucia shouted the protagonist's name. The boy replied that he was fine and alive, but it seemed like the monster had used a skill or something. The boy used his shield again. Cerberus started using normal attacks again, and the boy continued to dodge. Hiroki looked at his body and realized that the wound had healed, but he still got hit pretty hard. Lucky reacted in time. Lucia was very happy that the boy was safe. Then she continued to attack, and finally, the monster was defeated. Cerberus let out his last heart-rending scream. Hiroki began to be very happy that they had won. Lucia threw herself into his arms and said that she was really happy that Hiroki was alive. The young man smiled and said that everything was fine now and the girl didn't need to cry. Suddenly, she walked away from the young man and apologized for not following the plan. After that, she wouldn't be able to be his partner. The young man then asks her not to worry and says that her strategy was better. He then goes quiet for a minute and then calls the girl by name. Hiroki says that the girl, being his partner, would risk being hit by the king. Lucia does not understand what the young man means. He bows to the girl and says that even so, he still wants her to become his partner. The girl panicked and asked the boy to stop. She said that she was the one who asked to be his partner first. The girl smiles and asks Hiroki to take care of her. The boy smiles and also asks the girl to take care of him. Then they decide to check the treasury. The girl says that she was able to get here for the first time. They open the chest and see a huge number of coins and various useful things in it. Hiroki said there was a whole bunch of money and a skill book. Lucia added that there were 2 more large magic stones. The young man takes the book in his hand and says about the skill book, and then he hands it to Lucia. He says that since the girl is here for the first time, this is her first skill book. The girl gives a positive answer. The girl says that Hiroki is fighting in the vanguard, so he needs to learn as many skills as possible. She says that if Hiroki refuses the book, she will be very worried. The young man replied that he was glad that the girl cared about him, but now their main task was to increase her strength. They needed to prepare for the dangers of the demon continent. He smiles and says he will take the next book. He offers to hold the bow for the girl. She agrees. Lucia places her hand on the book, and Hiroki tells her to tell the book her skill. Lucia agrees and names her skill Great Arrow. Suddenly, everything around her started to shine, and the girl got a new skill, the Wind Arrow. She was very happy and told Hiroku that the book told her that she got the Wind Arrow skill. The young man congratulates the girl and says that she is just great. After some time, they decide to go back and go to the equipment store. The girl agrees. They arrive at a familiar place for Hiroki. They are greeted by a dwarf man who asks if he is the strange healer with Evasion. The boy smiles and thanks the man for helping him back then. The man notices the elf and says that the boy finally has a partner, then congratulates him. The man says that if the girl is an archer, she would be a perfect match for a healer like him. Hiroki and Luchia thank the man for his kind words. The young man says he has some money, so he asks to enchant his equipment for Evasion and improve it with this. He lays out some materials, and the man's eyes widen. The dwarf turns to Hiroki and says that there are a lot of great materials here, such as magic stones and a Cerberus claw. He says that something interesting can be made from these materials. The young man replies that in that case he will trust the man. The man says that he will enchant the clothes for evasion and the bow for damage, and also repair it. The man says that in 3 days everything will be ready. The young man agrees. They leave the weapon shop. Hiroki says it's a really cool shop, and the girl replies that the man also said he'd help them prepare their gear for what looks like the demon continent. The man gave the girl a temporary bow and the boy a cloak. The boy says that while it is light, they can sell some materials to the guild. Lucia agrees to his offer. After some time, they arrive at the capital's guild. The young man looks at the notice board and realizes that he needs to leave a message for Ren and Ruri that they are going to the demon continent. He goes to the board and thinks that they left something for him too. Then the young man remembers that he cannot read. Luchia approaches and asks if the boy saw anything. Hiroki realizes that he can ask Luchia to help him. The boy says he thought there might be a message for him on the board, but unfortunately he can't read. Lucia says she'll help him. The girl lists the names Wilhuck, Dedryg, Carl, Ben, Sakurai, and says that it seems there is nothing for the boy. Suddenly, the boy realizes that Sakurai is him. He tells Lucia that Sakurai is for him. He asks if the girl can read the letter. Lucia asks that it is some kind of family name. She says that she will read it. The girl then begins to read a letter that Watanabe supposedly wrote. The boy says that they haven't seen each other for a long time, and it was decided that he would leave for the demon continent in 2 days. He wants to meet the boy before leaving. So he is asked to wait for him tomorrow morning at the stones outside the city gates. Lucia asks if Hiroki's friend really wrote it, but the young man says that it was not quite so. He remembers a man asking about the heroes' names, and they introduced themselves as Sakurai, Takanashi, and Watanabe. Then Hiroki suggested that Takanashi and Watanabe address each other by their first names, since the king only knows their last names. The young man understands that the message on the board is from the king. He understands that the king's men are too stupid. Hiroki thought about the moment when all three of them told the king their last names and agreed to address each other by their first names. Sakurai remembers that Watanabe is Ren's last name. They agreed to call each other by their first names. Since there was a family name, it was definitely a trap set by the king. Lucia asked the young man if he knew who sent the letter. Hiroki says there are too many ears here. He will tell everything when they return to their room. Lucia agrees with the boy. Then they see Hala at the reception desk, who already had a client. The man was asking the girl to go on a date with him. Hiroki said that the girl seemed to be annoyed by being pestered. Lucia was surprised that Hala was being pestered by customers. The man asked to go with him to the heroes' parade. Hiroki thought about the heroes' parade. The girl asked for forgiveness and said that it was beyond her authority. The man was surprised and said that he was very sorry. Then the girl saw Hiroki. The young man greeted her and asked if she was free. The girl apologized to the man and said that she had another client waiting for her, so she could not talk to him anymore. The man said that they would see each other later. Then Hala greeted Hiroki and asked if the boy really wanted to sell the materials now. Hiroki responded positively. Hiroki said that he wanted to sell some of these materials. The girl was surprised that the materials were really high quality. Then the young man asked what the girl had said earlier about the parade in honor of the hero. Hala confirmed this and said that in order to defeat the demon lord, the hero goes to the demon continent, and to encourage him, they hold a parade. Hiroki is surprised by this, and Lucia asks if the hero is really going to defeat the demon lord. The boy wonders if he is still in the heroes group, and if he will be forced to join the parade. At this time, Lucia and Hala were talking about the hero actually existing if rumors are to be believed. Hiroki said that they absolutely must see it. Lucia said that he was right, and Hala added that she heard that the parade would start tomorrow at noon. She then gives the heroes the money for the materials, and the boy thanks her for it. After some time, Lucia and Hiroki arrive at the Falling Star Inn. The young man turns to the girl and says, "What about their recent conversation at the guild?" After some time, the girl is surprised that Hiroki knows the hero. The young man gives a positive answer and says that they came from a distant country. Then he asks if the girl believes him. Lucia replies that she does, and that she believes the boy. She always thought he was a little strange. She smiled and added that when the boy said that he was a friend of the hero, everything in her head fell into place. Hiroki replied that his fighting style was not particularly appreciated in this country. He thinks that it is not worth telling the girl about their world, and says that they were called by the king from distant lands. Lucia realized that this is the reason why the young man cannot read. Hiroki says that the king ordered them to kill the demon lord, but his decision to put all his skill points into dodging angered him. When he was thrown into prison, the hero Ren agreed to wear the contract bracelet in exchange for his freedom. Lucia was amazed by the hero's kindness and self-sacrifice. Hiroki said that the girl was right, that Ren was a good guy, but now he was cursed, and not just one. The girl was surprised and scared. The first curse the young man spoke of was the bracelet. Without the king's permission, he could not move freely, and the second curse was the curse of the basilisk, which would soon kill him. He says that in order to cure Ren, he goes to the demon continent for the apricot herb. He doesn't have time to level up. He'll be facing enemies so strong that their levels won't even come close. Lucia said she understood. Hiroki says that besides that, the king hates him, and for now, that's all he wanted to tell the girl about himself. He turns to Luchia and says that if she therefore does not want to be his partner, the girl interrupts him and calls his name. She puts her hand on his and says that she will go with him. No matter how many times he asked, she would always answer that she wanted to be his partner. Hiroki was touched by this and then thanked the girl. Then the girl asks what sent the message to the boy. Hiroki says it was the king. Lucia is surprised. The young man says that it was precisely for such occasions that they told the king their last names, not their first names. It turns out that the king pretended to be a hero and tried to contact him. Lucia understands why the young man was surprised when she read him the note. She says that if it's a trap, they can just ignore it, but Hiroki replies that he will go to the destination. Luchia asks if he will really go despite the trap. The young man answers positively and says that it may be related to Ren or Ruri. The next day, he comes to a place near a large rock. He examines the stone and says that neither Ren nor anyone else is here. Then, an arrow flashes from the bushes and flies straight at the young man, but he dexterously dodges it. He looks at the arrow lying there, and, as he thought, it was a trap. He turns to the people behind the bushes and asks if they are Watanabe. At this time, the court bug turned to Watanabe and asked him if he was ready for the parade. The young man answered positively. Ren replied that the parade was still so embarrassing that even Ruri was eager to leave. The man replied that it showed how important it was for the king to subdue the demon lord. That's why he's entrusting this task to them. Before they go, could Ren wait just a minute? A man approaches a nearby guard and asks how things are. The man replies that everything is fine and he takes the bait. The man smirks in response. He says that he is absolutely useless, as he thought. Until now, he could not finish him off, because there was a chance that Watanabe would find out. By going to the demon continent, he will not be able to hear about it. At this time, many arrows fly at the main character, but he dexterously dodges each one. Several men with swords run out at him. The young man asks them what happened to Watanabe, but receives no answer. The men continued to attack the boy, swing after swing, but they could not hit him. They did not understand why they could not hit him, and the boy continued to dodge. The man says that's fine, but he's just a stupid person with high evasion. The other man says to look at it from the other side. He's a healer, so he can't attack them. They surround the young man and say that this is just a battle of endurance, and one day they will hit him. Sakurai smirked and asked who said he couldn't attack. The man took him at his word and told him to attack. The young man raises his hand and twirls it in the air. He smiles and says that he will not hold back. Suddenly, a current of air forms next to him. The men realize that the boy was using wind magic. They realize that the boy had been a mage all along. Hiroki simply smiles at this point. The men realized that the situation was difficult and began to retreat and run from this place. Hiroki watched them go. At this time, Lucia looked out from under the tree crown and asked the young man how he liked her wind arrow. Hiroki replied that it was very cool. Those stupid mercenaries mistook him for a magician. The girl jumped down from the tree and laughed. He said that the wind arrow is amazing. While the arrow is flying, it is surrounded by magical wind, so even if it misses, the target will take damage. He says that now they have many more strategies available for battles. The girl is happy about this. She said it was good that she missed. Hiroki responded positively and said that if she had hit, someone could have died. The boy then says that they did try to kill him, so their death would not have been their fault. Lucia is surprised by this. The girl asked if the king really hated him that much. Hiroki said that they would have to sort it out when they got back. Most likely, at this moment, the king knows more than anyone about how they can return to Japan. First of all, they need to go to the demon continent where the apricot grass grows. Luchia replies that they must help the hero. Hiroki thinks that no matter what, he will save him. Hiroki then tells Lucia that they need to hurry to the parade, and the girl agrees. After a while, they come to a square where many people have already gathered, and Ren is riding on horseback in the very center of the parade, and behind him is Ruri. Lucia ran ahead and said that they had made it in time for the hero's parade. At this time, Hiroki was surprised that he could see Ren. He looked at Ren's smile and thought about how he didn't show even a little bit of his suffering. He thought about how Ren didn't want to make others worry. Hiroki sighs and sees Ruri following right behind Ren, waving. He thinks that Ruri has really gotten used to all this. She acts like a noblewoman. However, Ren is still shy. Lucia asks the boy if these two are really his allies. The boy says that they are. Lucia says that Ren is a brave hero who is cursed and requires the apricot herb to cure, but he seems to be fine. The boy agrees. Suddenly, Ren sees something in the crowd. He gets off his horse and asks the other people to disperse. Ren is happy and goes to Hiroki. Lucia is surprised by this. Ren approaches Hiroki and says that they haven't seen each other in a while. He wants to call Hiroki the hero, but calls him by his last name. Hiroki asks Watanabe if it's okay that the star of the parade is out of place. Ryan said he let Takanashi keep the crowd busy for a while. Rory said it was okay, and she'd manage somehow. Lucia said she already knew it, but Hiroki was just amazing. Ren thanks for the information about the apricot grass. He will go to the demon continent to find it. He managed to make the king think that they were going to defeat the demon lord. In fact, that's what the parade is about. The boy laughs in response. Then Ren asked about the young man. He wondered if he had enough money and if everything was okay. Hiroki says he's fine and has a partner. Ren looks at the confused Lucia and asks if she's that girl. The girl shyly introduces herself as an elven archer, and her name is Luchia. She is very pleased to meet you. Ren says his name is Watanabe, and then asks him to look after Sakurai. They shake hands. Ren says it looks like the young man has found a great partner. It's a pleasant relief for him. Hiroki says that he should be worried about the boy, because doing such crazy things is dangerous. Watanabe is surprised and asks how much the boy knows. Hiroki points his finger at him and tells him that he knows absolutely everything. Ren rubs his shoulder and laughs. Hiroki thinks that even if they were summoned here, there is no need to sacrifice themselves, and yet the fact that Ren is cursed remains. Now they need to find a healing herb to remove the curse. Hiroki says that he and Lucia are also heading to the demon continent to find the apricot herb. Ren asks if Hiroki knows that the demon continent is a dangerous place. The young man replies that they will manage somehow and he should think about himself. Ren says that he understood everything, and Sakurai understood this world better than anyone. Hiroki asked not to make Takanashi worry. Ren agreed. At that moment, a court magician passed through the square. He glanced in Ren's direction, then turned away. However, he suddenly realized that Watanabe and Sakurai, who should be dead, were there. The man started shouting about what Sakurai was doing here. The boy asked Ren who it was. The boy replied that it was the court magician. Then Hiroki remembered that the man was in the hall when they were summoned to this world. Then the young man remembered the moment when he was attacked by hired killers. He smiled and told the magician that he was the one who called him this morning. The man started screaming, "What is the young man talking about?" because he knows nothing about it. Ren asks if the man really called Hiroki this morning. The man yells that it doesn't matter. He then yells at Watanabe and says that he's disrupting the parade and should come back immediately. The boy apologizes and says that he's on his way. Ren tells Hiroku that it's time for him to go and then asks the boy not to go crazy. Hiroku says goodbye and says that it was actually his line. Lucia says that Watanabe is a good person. Hiroki confirms this and says that Ren is not a bad guy. Then other people run up to the young man and woman and say that they had a conversation with the hero himself, and whether they really know the hero. They ask to tell about the hero. Hiroki realizes they are in trouble. He tells Lucia that they need to leave. He asks how about discussing the plan to travel to the demon continent. Lucia agrees. After some time, they arrive at the Falling Star Inn. Lucia says that their current location is the capital of the Pace Knot Kingdom. Hiroki points to the location on the map and says that the demon continent is here, in the north. Lucia says that's true. Then the boy points to some more symbols and asks if they are whirlpools. Lucia says yes and says that the sea is rough now, so they need to go around. Hiring a ship would be expensive. So all that's left for them to do is to walk along this narrow patch of land. The girl replies that she heard that you can walk through a sea of trees and the underground of the seabed. Hiroki realizes that they have two paths. Then the door to the hotel opens, and Floyd, Dine, and Tina walk in. They are very happy to see Hiroki. Hiroki greets the guys. Floyd says that it looks like the two of them are officially partners. Lucia agrees and says that she even met the boss for the first time and it was a big Cerberus. Floyd, Dine, and Tina shouted throughout the hotel about whether Lucia really said about the Cerberus. Floyd asks if the boy and girl knew that this dungeon didn't even have a proper map. He says that these two are just great. Dine and Tina also say that it's just amazing. Hiroki says that they are currently deciding which route to take to the demon continent. Floyd says he's never been there, but he's heard the seafloor is very difficult. It's better to go through the sea of trees. Hiroki thinks about the sea of trees. The dungeon should be safe on the stairs, so he thinks that might give him some leeway, but the dungeon means a boss. However, whether they need to pass through the boss room to reach the demon continent is what they don't know. Tina says that very few people dare to fight him, so if they get into trouble, she doesn't think anyone will find them. She asks if it's not dangerous. Dane turns to Tina and says that the girl is too timid and isn't danger part of the adventure. Tina says that Dane is too carefree. Luchia says that she also heard that the enemies in the seabed dungeon are quite strong, but that's precisely because they don't have time to increase their levels. If they could level up while going through the dungeon, she thought it would partially solve their problem with strength on the demon continent. Hiroki says she's right. It's important for them to not forget about leveling up. There's probably a huge level gap between them and Ren and Ruri. Floyd says that leveling up in the seabed dungeon during the hard journey. Dine is happy and says that it's just a dream. In another situation, he would just stop them, but for them, the level of difficulty cannot be measured in the same way as for everyone else. He decides, why not try? Hiroki says that in that case they choose the underground route. Lucia agrees. Floyd asks when they are leaving. Hiroki says they are leaving the day after tomorrow. Dine says he understands, but that is very fast. If Floyd gets drunk, he'll pass out for a day, so they might never see each other again. Floyd asks the landlady to bring more meat. He asks Hiroki to take him there while he can. The girl comes out of the kitchen and says she understands, then asks if they should bring ale first. Floyd says it's going to be a long goodbye, so they should bring all the meat they have first. Lucia asks for a drink too. Floyd asks if a girl can outdrink him. Meanwhile, Tina turns to Hiroki. She asks the burden to be careful on the way, to which Hiroki says that it is time for him to go. 2 days later, Lucia and Hiroki come to the gun shop to the dwarf man. He says that everything is ready. He gives Lucia a bow, and she is happy that her bow has become much bigger. Hiroki asks if it will be a bit heavy to carry around because of its size. The man smiles and says there is no need to worry because he added a little special feature using the demon stone. He asks Lucia to infuse some magic power into the bow. The girl adds a little magical power to the weapon, and the bow suddenly instantly decreases in size several times. Hiroki says that it's amazing and it's just like Rui Bong. The girl asks what the boy is talking about. The man tells them to stop talking nonsense and then tells the boy to go and change his clothes. Hiroki puts on his new suit with upgrades. The man says that he used materials from the Cerberus, so the protection is increased. Hiroki says that all this has become a good equipment. The young man then notices a new feature on his suit and asks what the lightning parameter means. The man explains that all of his clothes are significantly reduced in size. In addition, the items in his pockets will also be slightly lighter. The boy thinks it is very convenient. Then the man gives him the blade and says that it is a farewell from him. No matter how weak his attack is, it is better to carry something with you. The boy thanks him. The young man spins around and says the blade is holding up well. He thinks about why it feels good to look a little more like a fighter. Lucia laughs and says that Hiroki looks like a child in new clothes. The boy says that it is embarrassing. The man also starts laughing. He then says that he also put a lightning on the backpack. Inside, he put all the things he needed for the trip, including boots. Luchia says that this should be more than enough. The man offers Hiroki to put it on his back. Hiroki puts on the backpack and says that it is so light, so he says this to the man with great gratitude. The man says that it is normal to use skills to make your equipment lighter. However, as he knows, for the boys this may not be the norm. The boy asks if experienced adventurers really have a lot of non-combat skills. The man says that it is commonplace. Detection skills to find monsters, cleaning skills to quickly clean things. The young man is amazed by these skills. The man says that since they are talking about it, there is a skill that creates extra-dimensional storage. The boy is surprised by this and then thinks that this is such a common thing in games. Lucia also says that it sounds very cool. The boy then asks the man if his order is finished. The man says he almost forgot about it. The man gives him a bag with the order. The boy thanks him. Hiroki asks Lucia to give him her hand. The girl agrees and extends her hand. The young man says that this is a new bracelet of their group. When you wear aspen ones, the team spirit is felt better. The girl looks at her new bracelet and then says that she is very happy and thanks Hiroki. The boy tells the girl to look that he has the same bracelet. The girl giggles. Then Hiroki says that it is time for them to go. The man says to show themselves when they return. And that is how the young man left the country where he was called for adventure. A few days later, Lucia and Hiroki arrive at the dungeon of the deep sea on the first floor. They walk through a place where there is a small amount of water. The boy says that it is difficult to walk here. Lucia replies that it is good that they put on hiking boots. Hiroki says that they were warned that it wouldn't be easy. They need to be on guard. Lucia says that's true. Finally, the monster appears, the killer mermaid. Hiroki tells Lucia to wait here and he will distract it. The boy runs towards the monster and calls out to him. The mermaid starts to growl and then attacks the boy. The boy dodges and calls out to Lucia to attack while the monster is distracted. The girl shoots the monster in the head with an arrow, but he doesn't die. Instead, he pulls the arrow out of his head. Hiroki and Lucia are surprised by this. The monster then began to attack the man with its weapon again. The monster missed the boy, and many arrows flew towards them. Finally, one of Lucia's arrows hit the monster right in the head, and he was defeated. Hiroki thinks they've just started, but they're already having some trouble. Lucia apologizes to the boy for taking so long to get in. Hiroki says, it's okay, it's just a hard-level dungeon. However, if they go further, they may run out of arrows and strength. Then the young man looks to the side because some rustling is heard there. Lucia is surprised, and killer sea mermen and sea slugs appear on the side. Hiroki shouts that monsters have appeared and there are more of them. Hiroki creates a shield to protect himself and then slaps his cheeks. He says that they need to go fight and then asks who will go at him first. The sea slug starts to attack, but the boy dodges and the monster misses. Then the second slug starts to attack, but it also misses due to the boy's excellent dodging. Then the killer merman attacks, but he also misses. Hiroki thinks that he can dodge even if there is an entire army of them. He asks Lucia to attack now. The girl agrees. The girl shoots many arrows that miss their target, but after a while, all the monsters were defeated. Hiroki is happy and tells Lucia that they did it. The girl is happy about another victory. The young man thinks that the enemies are time-consuming, but very easy. He suggests that the girl go further, and Lucia agrees with him. Finally, they reach the 7th floor. The boy realized that the water level had risen. Lucia noticed that they were moving more slowly now. The girl asks Hiroki if it's her door for him to dodge. The young man agrees, but says that everything is fine, but the main thing is that it doesn't get any deeper. Then the ice Fenrir monster appears. Hiroki was scared for a few minutes. Luchia said that the monster looks strong. Hiroki remembers Cerberus and says that he has very bad memories with dogs. The girl says that this monster doesn't care about water because it creates ice under its paws. The girl says that it's a scam. Hiroki turns to the girl and tells her to keep her distance. The girl agrees. The young man runs to the young man and says that there is very little space here. Suddenly, the Fenrir releases ice spikes, but the protagonist easily dodges this attack. He lands on the ground and splashes water. Although there is little space, he can dodge. The boy calls Lucia to attack. The girl agrees and pulls the arrow. The girl shoots several arrows and suddenly hits Fenrir, and then she tries to hit the monster again. Fenrir uses his ice spike attack again, but the boy manages to duck. He thinks if he climbs onto the ice, he will be able to dodge it more easily. The boy jumps onto the ice, but suddenly slips and falls straight into the water. The monster immediately also directs its head and paw into the water to hit the young man, but he uses dodge and swims with lightning speed right under the ice flow. The young man emerges right behind the monster, while Lucia attacks the monster with multiple arrows. Suddenly, Fenrir turns around, but is hit directly by an arrow fired by Lucia. The monster dies. The young man stands up and breathes a sigh of relief. Lucia runs up to the young man and asks if he is okay. Hiroki tells the girl not to worry because he just didn't dodge, and next time he will definitely succeed. Lucia agrees, but says that after 2 or 3 floors they will not be able to continue. She understands that the young man wants to go as far as possible, but now it is difficult. The girl says sadly that it would be better to retreat. The young man is surprised by her words. She says that, besides, they don't know how many floors are left. If they meet enemies stronger than them, they might die. The girl is sad, of course, but she thinks they should go back. The boy thinks she is right. The further they go, the harder it becomes to fight, and their strength is not enough. They had to strike 3 times to defeat Fenrir. He doesn't want to admit it, but he agrees with her. He says that it's good and suggests that the girl go back and walk through the sea of trees. The girl agrees. The girl suggests going back to the stairs and drying their clothes. Hiroki looks at Lucia and thinks that the girl is sad, although she suggested going back, but maybe she wanted to continue. Now is not the time to lose hope. That's why he suggested Lucia to become stronger and clear this dungeon. Lucia looks at the boy and then happily says that she agrees with him. They are going to become stronger and come back here. After some time, they arrive at a village near a sea of trees. Hiroki says that now that they have a place to stay, they can have dinner. Then they are brought various dishes. The young man says that it is all just like shawarma. He says that this hot sauce is simply incomparable. He can eat a mountain of such dishes. Then the young man looks at the sad Lucia and calls her by name. The girl shudders. He asks if the girl really doesn't eat that. Lucia says that's not true at all, then apologizes and says she was just thinking. He suggests that they take the food with them. Lucia says that's a good idea. Hiroki realizes that the girl is probably thinking about the incident in the dungeon. That night, the young man wakes up and realizes that it is still night outside. He pours himself some water and thinks that he hasn't slept well. It's because he's worked so hard on the raid. He wonders if Luchia is okay. Then the young man looks at the girl's bed and sees that it's empty. He wonders where she is. The young man thinks about what the girl has been thinking about all day, and then realizes that she really went into the dungeon. He runs out of the room and tries to figure out where she went. He remembers that the girl suggested that they retreat. The way she said that they don't know how many floors are left, and also that if they fight enemies stronger than them, they might die. He remembers her sad face and reproaches himself for what if he had realized it earlier. He mentally calls her name. Hiroki thought that because they returned from the dungeon early, Lucia might think it was her fault. If he had been more attentive, this would not have happened. He tries to find Lucia and does not understand where she is. Then the guard at the wall heard a knock at the door. The man asked the boy what had happened, since it was so late. Hiroki asked if the man had seen an elf there. He answered positively and added that if it was her. At this time, the girl tried to kill the local monsters. She hit, missed, and hit again. Suddenly, the monster crashes into a tree and the girl begins to fall from the branch she was on. At the moment of falling, Hiroki manages to use the shield in time. The girl comes to her senses and is surprised that there was a shield. Hiroki calls the girl by name. The young man asks if she has been hunting just now. He asks her not to leave so suddenly because he is kind of really worried. Hiroki asks the girl if she really still thinks about that dungeon. The girl is sad and says that if she was stronger, they would have passed it. The boy smiles and asks her if she remembers what she told him when they united. She said that they would make decisions together. He says he was very happy to hear this because he wanted her to share everything with him, because they are a team. The girl was amazed by his words. Na says that she too, when she saw how the young man thought everything over himself, she felt very lonely. The girl says that she seems to have done the same. The girl apologizes to the boy. Hiroki says that he understands that she wants to end it, but wouldn't it be better to do it together? The girl agrees and thanks the young man. Hiroki says that there is still time before sunrise, and he does not want to sleep at all. He offers the girl to raise the levels until the morning. The girl agrees. Then she asks why the boy is in his pajamas. The boy replies that he was in a hurry. The girl starts laughing. Before that, in the underwater dungeon on the 7th floor, Ruri called the spell as weakening the territory, maximum duration of the flame. The girl said that this way they wouldn't get wet. Ren said that indeed the girl could do that too. He asked if everything would be okay since it was risky to use so many skills at once. The girl agreed and said that they hardly spend any mana. Ren said that Ruri was just great. The girl drives away the water and says that the young man is flattering her again. Then they use search magic. Ruri is surprised and says that the monsters are approaching and there are quite a lot of them, so Ren should be more careful. Several Fenrir appear. Ren takes out his sword and shield and calls the girl by name. Ren says that he sees a monster. Ruri's flame stops the monsters and Ren attacks the monster through it. The snow Fenrir was defeated and then more monsters were approaching. Rory used wind magic to destroy the approaching monsters or just delay them. Ren held them back with his shield and then tried to dodge its paw attack. After he held the monster back, he struck it with his sword. Finally, the Snow Fenrir was defeated. Ren says that they moved using ice and he was very surprised by this. Ren says that Rory's magic is just incredible. The girl does not listen to him and asks how his wound is. They have a lot of potions with them and if they are needed. The young man thanked her and said that he was fine because he could heal such a wound himself. Ren had a passive regeneration skill. Rory said that she understood, but if he was in pain, he should speak up right away, otherwise he always endured. Ren agreed. The girl thinks that because she is standing behind him, Ren never dodges. The boy says that there is no need to worry, and he is fine, because he has regeneration, and the girl knows about it. The girl says that she knows about it, but he still feels pain, so he should take better care of himself. The young man agrees and apologizes to the girl. Ren thinks that at such moments he remembers him, their friend with whom they were separated. They then arrive at a staircase on the 12th floor. Ren suggests they rest here. Ren says that they have walked a lot, and he is even tired. In his world, he did not train so much. Ren tells Rory that she played sports in their world. The girl says that it is not exactly a sport, but she learned archery and horseback riding. Now the young man understands how the girl managed to saddle the horse so quickly. He likes people who don't waste time. The girl says that she just wanted to do something. Ren says he also had a lot of free time, so he often did housework. Rory says it's not free time. Ren asks if the girl really thinks that way. He could always be with his family, and it was a lot of fun. Rory realizes that Ren is very lonely now. She says that he must have been very close to them. Ren calls the girl by name. She says it's not that she wants to meet her family, but she likes living with them in this world better. Ren asks if the girl really likes it here more than in Japan. Rory says that he has faced difficulties here and does not see much good, but for her, it is the opposite. The girl says that she likes it here better because she has Ren and Hiroki. The girl has a family whose interests she has to put above everything else. That's why she didn't have any friends. Ren thinks her family was either afraid of her or wanted to use her influence. Ren says it was much harder for the girl. She says that he is probably the only one who understands what it was like for her. Now they only see him as a hero. Sometimes he wonders how they would treat him if he had been born one. And yet, he understands how much the girl values them. That's what makes him happier. Rory thinks that she didn't tell him about her family, but they understood everything without that and are always with him, even if she doesn't ask. Ren asks Rory if it matters what world they are in. Ren says it doesn't necessarily matter in this world, but even after they return to Japan, the three of them will remain friends. The girl was amazed by Ren's words. She agrees with his words. Ren says that if he is with her and Hiroki, even in Japan, they will have fun. He asks if that is really true. Rory says that if the three of them are together, they can do anything. He says that when they return, they will say goodbye to the king who is simply using them. Rory agrees with him. The boy then coughs and clutches his chest. The girl calls him by name, but he apologizes and says he just choked. He laughs and apologizes again. Rory remains silent, but Ren says it's okay. The boy continues to squeeze his chest, and Rory turns around and says she'll go wash up. Then she will come back and fix her armor. Ren asks the girl to beware of monsters. Rory says that everything is fine, and she sees them. Then Ren waits for the girl to leave, and then he begins to writhe in pain, and his entire body is pierced by sharp stabbing feelings. Rory thinks that he is probably in pain because of the curse. However, as long as she is around, he does not show his weaknesses. The girl stands behind the wall and calls the young man stupid and says that she is worried about him because they are friends. Hiroki and Luchia come to the path that connects the continents of Roquat and demons. The girl hits another monster, and the boy is happy about it. Luchia says that she finally managed to hit the enemy. She apologizes and says that it took some time. The young man says that there is nothing to be done because nothing can be seen because of the fog. Although there are fewer monsters here than in the dungeon, so it's nice to be able to defeat the monsters and move on. The girl agrees and says that the monsters here are a bit weak. It looks like they won't have to worry about running out of potions, and it would be risky to go through the dungeon without potions. The fog makes it hard to navigate the map. It looks like it won't be of any use. The boy says that he thinks they are on the right path. According to the map, they will reach it soon. The boy does not notice the abyss he is walking into. Then he starts to fall, and Luchia screams, calling Hiroki's name. He starts falling and thinks he can't even see the ground. He yells to set durability to 1 hit and then uses his shield. The boy uses the shield and falls. The boy starts coughing because he is so scared. He sits down on the grass and then looks up and says, "Did he really come straight from there?" Lucia calls the boy's name from above. Hiroki calls Lucia's name. The girl shouts that she is very glad that the young man is safe, and then asks how he is and if he was hurt. Hiroki says he's fine, but he doesn't think he can climb back up. The girl says she can't jump down to him either. Hiroki says that's right, she needs his shield to jump. However, if he increases the shield's strength, its range will be reduced. It's too risky to shield her while she's falling, and he doesn't want her to experience that horror. The girl asks if they can then move on separately until they meet. The girl says there aren't many of them, but there are monsters here. He asks if the girl will be okay. Lucia tells the boy not to be afraid. She will jump on the trees. Hiroki says that, as expected from a forest dweller, he agrees with the girl. Then, they determine their next meeting place. If the girl walks along the cliff, she will find a large stone where they can meet. The girl agrees and asks Hiroki to be careful. The young man says that they should be more careful too. Then the boy says that he ran, but suddenly something started to attack him from the side. Hiroki managed to dodge in time. Only a few seconds passed, and he already ran into the monster, and how unlucky he is. A monster called Mushroom Rent has appeared. The boy thinks that the mushroom is very cute. Then he looks at the stump under the mushroom and says that he takes it back. The boy continues to dodge the monster and says that it still looks cute, I guess. He thinks that these monsters are easy to dodge, but there are more of them. Suddenly, another monster approaches him. He thinks that the fog is not so thick, probably because he fell off the cliff. He thinks that he needs to hurry and meet Lucia. At this time, Lucia was jumping deftly through the trees. She thought that she was in her native forest, not considering that she was alone here. She thought that since there was fog here, she should be more careful. She jumps from branch to branch to branch and hopes that she will meet Hiroki soon. At this time, a team of 3 people fought with the mushroom rental. An elf girl was gathering grass nearby. Suddenly, a shadow covers her. A man, a member of her group, hears the girl scream. A girl is grabbed by a huge red bear. She thinks that this is her end. Suddenly, the bear starts to attack, but a shield appears right around the girl, and she is instantly healed. The man and the girl are surprised to see the treatment. The girl turns around and sees Hiroki there, and says that he uses magic from such a long distance while he is fighting monsters. Hiroki yelled at them not to worry about him and to deal with that monster instead. The man yelled thank you to the boy. Then they saw a huge number of monsters around the young man and asked him where this magic came from. Suddenly, the bear attacks the girl and knocks her down. The man calls Lily by name, to which the girl replies that she understands and creates many arrows. The girl summons automatic arrows and aims them straight at the bear. Hiroki is surprised that the girl attacked with arrows without a bow. She said that it was very cool. Finally, the red bear was defeated. The man thanked the girl and then saw a huge pile of monsters near Hiroki. The girl said that she would help him with these monsters. The young man thanked her. The girl uses the arrow creation and then launches automatic arrows. The mushroom rentals were completely defeated. Hiroki says the girl is an archer, but she shoots arrows without a bow, and it's really cool. The girl replies that the boy is just incredible and then thanks him for his help. The man apologizes and says that they let their guard down, even though it is their job to protect her. He saved Pino, so the man asks how he can thank the boy. Hiroki says that he is glad he could help. The girl says that if you remember that he used such a spell from such a long distance and at the same time ran away from monsters. Hiroki says that, as he thought, a 100% recovery is truly incredible. As a player, he was so busy with his evasion build that he paid too much attention to it, but in this world, he is not a player, but a healer. The girl asks the boy who he is. The man says, "Isn't it appropriate to introduce yourself first?" The girl remembers and says that her name is Pino and she is an elf and also an alchemist. The second girl introduces herself as Liliana and says that she is a rabbit hunter of the beast race. The boy sees the girl's rabbit ears and she is also a hunter. He starts to glow. He thinks about the alchemist, the rabbit-eared huntress, and the dwarf bodyguard. The girl asks, what about the boy? Hiroki states his name and says he is a healer and a human. He can heal and dodge, but he can't attack, and when he stays, everything ends badly, so he thanks for the help. The girl says it's amazing to be a healer with evasion abilities. It's the first time she's seen it. Hiroki says that he has an archer partner, but they are now separated, and he is heading to their meeting place. The man is surprised that the archer is alone. It is very dangerous, and they need to meet as soon as possible. Hiroki says that the girl is a forest elf and moves well in trees, so everything is fine. Pino is surprised and says that she is an elf. He shows them a map and says that the meeting place was this stone. The girl says that it is a bit far away and the map is all torn up. Pino then says that maybe they can take the boy there as a reward for saving her. Hiroki says that it would be great because he is still not sure that he will be able to avoid the attacks of every monster, because there are more of them than he expected. The girl with bunny ears asks if the boy is really saying that after dodging 10 mushrooms. Hiroki starts laughing. Pino asks him if she can have these mushrooms for lunch. The boy says yes. The girl says that it is so much and some more materials. The girl says that the mushrooms that grow on the mushroom farms do not disappear when he defeats them. Hiroki asks if she really intends to eat those mushrooms. The girl says that they are very tasty, so she offers Hiroki to try them. The young man says that the girl is right, and it all looks like a regular mushroom, and they look exactly the same. Pino likes this kind of food. Pino says that if the young man can gather such a large number of mushrooms around him, it means that he can eat deliciously at any time. The young man says that Pino will not do such a thing. The girl says the idea is brilliant. The man says the girl has a strange idea of genius. Then he asks if the girl has finished picking mushrooms. He suggests they hurry up. The girl says that Hiroki can call her by her first name. She doesn't like formalities very much. She also says that Liliana and Osan can be called by their first names too. The man says that his name is Hassan. The young man says that he understands and that he is very pleased. The young man names Pino, Liliana, and Hassan, and then they set off on their journey. Hassan asked Pino not to run forward so fast. At this time, the man attacked the monsters, and Hiroki dodged them. Hassan said that the girl had forgotten that she had almost died because of this. Pino sighed and apologized. She said that she could not resist when there were leafy grasses here. The girl asks them not to be afraid. Thanks to Hiroki, they have a shield, and she is no longer weak. Now, she is simply invulnerable. The man shouts at the girl not to waste his shield. The girl says that she is wasting it. Hiroki said they were just a funny couple. Liliana said she agreed, and Hiroki used shield after shield. After a while, Hassan told Hiroki that they must be near the stone. The fog finally cleared, so they could see the great tree. Hiroki asked about the great tree. Pino asks the boy to look up. The boy looks up and suddenly his eyes start to sparkle. He sees an incredibly huge great tree of another world. Hiroki is amazed by its size. Pino asked the boy if they were really seeing it for the first time. They say it contains a lot of magical power. There are only a couple of them in the whole world. Suddenly, Hassan sensed something and told everyone to be on guard. He said that the other half of that red bear was somewhere here. Pino was surprised that all the trees were broken, as if from a fight. Hiroki asked about the other half. Hassan confirms and says that red bears usually travel in pairs, so we thought it might be a female. Females are much larger than males. Hiroki thought that Lucy was all alone. He hoped that she was okay. Pino started screaming that she was scared. Hassan hoped that the people they met wouldn't run into her. Then Liliana said that there are arrows and they are very high and it shouldn't be like that either. She says that something bad happened because the archer messed up his aim. Is this a new and fast way of using hallucinations? Hiroki started screaming and then said he thought the bear had attacked my partner. Hassan said they had to hurry and follow the arrow trail. Hiroki thanked the man and prayed that Lucia was okay. Together, they ran to help Lucia. Liliana said that it seemed like this female was very fierce. Pino confirmed her words and said that there was too much destruction here. The girl says that if Hiroki's partner is an elf, but in the battle with the enraged beast, she could receive a blessing. Hiroki wondered about the blessing and whose it was. After a while, they notice a fallen tree and a red bear in the distance. Then they notice a girl on a tree branch. Hiroki calls her name and she turns around. Suddenly, the bear hits the tree branch and the girl falls down. Pino screamed that she was going to fall, but Hassan interrupted her and said that it would not happen on his shift. At that moment, Hiroki shouted that he still could. Hassan did not understand him. At that moment, Luchia gathered herself, landed on the ground, and shot her arrow at the enemy. Hiroki asked everyone to rely on him and then used intense boost and shield. He just wanted to make it in time. At that moment, everyone was scared. Lucia was suddenly covered with a special shield, and she immediately released an arrow and hit the bear straight. The red bear was defeated, and Hiroki thought that Lucia did just perfectly at that moment. Pino was surprised by Lucia's courage. The girl called Hiroki by name, and he said that he was very glad that the girl was okay. Lilana said that a point-blank shot was a real feat. Lucia asked Hiroki who these people were, to which the young man replied that they helped him fight off the monsters that were chasing him. The girl understood. Luchia then bowed and expressed her great gratitude for saving Hiroki. Liliana awkwardly said that there was no need for thanks. She said she was still surprised that she wasn't scared of that red bear. Lucia smiled and said it was because she knew Hiroki would protect her because she trusted him. Hassan smiled at that moment and said that Hiroki was trusted and that he was just great. The young man was touched by the girl's words. Then Pino distracted everyone by finding something in her backpack. The girl took out a magic potion and said that it was for Hiroki. The young man was surprised and asked what it was. He thanked the girl and said that he was still full of mana. Pino screamed in horror that it couldn't be, even after he used the shield from such a distance. She asked him how unlimited his magic power was. The young man laughed and thought that he couldn't tell her, that he didn't know it himself. Then Pino noticed something and said that Lucia was doing well, and then pointed to the sky and said that there was a gift for her there. Hiroki and Lucia look up at the sky and wonder what gift Pino is talking about. Suddenly, a leaf on a tree lights up and then starts falling towards the girl. Lucia says it looks very beautiful. She said it was very strange, because only this leaf glowed. Pino replied that the great fruit tree was rewarding Lucia for this fight. The girl asked what that meant. Pino replied that the great tree loved elves very much. Hiroki understood what Pino had meant when she said that Lucia could receive a blessing. As expected from another world, everything was different here. Pino said that this leaf is very valuable, so she should treasure it. The girl also said that if Lucia made an arrow out of the leaf, she would kill everyone with one shot, but there would only be one arrow, so she should think carefully. Lucia laughed and said that now she had a trump card. Hiroki said that it was very cool and he wanted one too. Pino said that even if he took one, it wouldn't shine, so it didn't make sense. Lucia looked up and said that the fruit tree was just fine. She thanked him for giving her one of his leaves. IT would be her good luck charm. Hiroki asked if there were trees that loved humans. Pino replied that there were very few such trees in the world, and that they all loved elves. Although she heard that there is an elf who is called the Elf of the Great Trees, and this could mean that there is an elf who is loved by the trees more than others. Hiroki asked about the Elf of the Great Trees. Lucia replied that from the rumors she knew, that was his name, but she didn't know why. She then asks Pino, but the girl replies negatively and says that it is still a mystery whether there is such an elf or not. Then Pino said that it was getting dark and then suggested that they spend the night there. Hiroki said why not? Soon Hiroki and Lucia take out a tent from their luggage. The young man says that the tent is simply wonderful. He looks inside and thinks that it is unlikely that they will both fit in there, even though it is only a portable tent. Then he thinks about him and Lucia. Even if it's normal in games, he forgets that Lucia is already a woman, and is it normal that they will be alone? They've already slept in the same room, but it's a small tent and they will definitely accidentally touch each other. Lucia settled into the tent and said that it was very comfortable. The young man agreed with her and thought that everything seemed fine. Meanwhile, Hassan is also trying to assemble his tent. Hiroki says that the tent is getting bigger, and Lucia adds that it is just like her bow. Hassan said they made the tent materials smaller using magical stones. Liliana adds that they had to work hard to find these stones. Luchia says they still have a long way to go, so she thinks she'll start collecting them too. Hiroki agrees with the girl. Pino says to look at everything. She used the stones for kitchen utensils. Hiroki thought it was a luxurious way to use stones. Pino said in all seriousness that food is important and it enriches your mind and body. Hiroki agreed with the girl, and Lucia laughed at this. Today's lunch would be mushrooms from the mushroom leases she got from Hiroki, and the meat of the ferocious boar they caught yesterday. Lucia was surprised and asked if Pino really ate monster meat. Hiroki thought Pino was eating monster meat just like in those time travel stories. Pino said it was delicious. Pino has no prejudices when it comes to ingredients. Lucia says, Don't monsters disappear after defeating them? Pino says. If you use it, then no. Liliana adds that Pino is an alchemist after all. Creating drugs is her path. Cook after putting the ingredients on the tree leaves with oil on top, and the dish is ready to serve. Soon, the dishes were ready. Pino warned everyone that it was hot. The young man noticed some familiar properties in this dish. Lucia starts eating. Everyone looks at her attentively. Suddenly, she opens her eyes and says that it is very tasty. Hiroki says it's his turn now. He starts eating and says it's really delicious. Hiroki laughs and says they have a winner. Luchia asks what kind of winner they are talking about. Pino says that's it. Deliciousness makes you a winner. The young man replied that he was still not satisfied. Pino laughs and says that she knew it. After a while, Pino says that it seems that this is where they part ways. She is very sorry. Liliana says that Pino loves to run everywhere, so his shield will help them out a lot. Pino says that they will have to separate, although with Hiroki she could collect materials and not be afraid of anything. Hassan says that Pino is running around even more with the shield, so there are downsides. Hiroki laughs. He says that it's a long way to the apricot continent, so they should take care of themselves. Hiroki thanks Pina, Liliana, and Hassan. The boy said that he will give Pino another shield as a parting gift. The girl thanks the boy for this gift. Hiroki says it was fun. Lucia confirms his words. Hassan wishes them luck. Pino says they will see each other, and Liliana wishes them to take care of themselves. The young man tells them to see him, but he himself thinks that in just a little while they will reach the apricot continent. Hiroki says it's great that they met these people. Lucia agrees. The boy jokes and says that he would send them a friend request if he could. Lucia asks what friend requests the boy means. Then she notices something, and then tells the boy to look to the side and see if there really is a shop there. Hiroki says it looks like it, but where is the shopkeeper? They approach a shop, from which a small fairy flies out and greets the customers, saying that she has a great selection of goods. Hiroki is surprised that they saw a fairy. The fairy says that everything is correct. They have arrived at the fairy's shop, so she offers to look at her goods. Lucia says that this is the first time she sees a real fairy. Hiroki says that this is his first time seeing one too. The fairy herself is surprised about this. She says that it is an honor for her to be the first fairy on their way. She's a fairy trader and is very pleased to meet you. Hiroki says that's very nice. Lucia asks why the fairy's shop is in such a place. The fairy says that's an excellent question. The fairy says that only those who possess a leaf from the great tree can visit her shop. Lucia asks if the fairy really means this leaf. She shows a leaf from a tree that she recently received from a fruit tree. The fairy says that this is the leaf. Hiroki says that he does not have the leaf and asks if it is okay if it is here. The fairy says that with the owner of the leaf he can come whenever he wants. Hiroki thanks the fairy for this permission. Lucia says that in that case she asks permission to look at the goods. The girl asks what this equipment is for. The fairy says that it will give them a good buff and costs about $1 million. Hiroki stands in shock and says that it is very expensive. Lucia says that she won't be able to buy it, and Hiroki is very depressed at this time. The fairy says that it is actually one of the cheapest goods. She asks to come back when they are experienced adventurers. She also highly recommends making magic bags. Hiroki asked what making magic bags means. The fairy explains that it is a specialty of fairies. She will enchant their bags with spatial magic, and then there will be a surprise. The fairy says that they will become owners of magical bags that can hold many things. Hiroki says that he wants this bag for himself. Hiroki thinks that this is usually called inventory. It's the same as the item boxes in the games. You can carry a lot of stuff around with you and still be barely dressed. Pino's group uses magic stones to shrink things. With such a bag, he would be spared the need to do something like that. In addition, his luggage would be lighter and it would be easier for him to dodge enemy attacks. Although his backpack has a weight reduction feature, it still has its own weight. Hiroki wants this bag for himself. The fairy says that, as expected, the boy has a keen eye. In honor of their first meeting, she will enchant their bags for only $1 million. She boasts that she is very generous. Hiroki falls down and says that it is so expensive and he does not have that kind of money. Lucia says that it is an unaffordable luxury for them. Hiroki really wants to have such a bag right now, since he has just started on the path of a healer with Evasion, but he has no money to pay for it. He thinks about what if he puts up for exchange something made in Japan. He starts rummaging through his backpack and turns to the fairy merchant. Maybe she would be interested in these things. Lucia and the fairy looked at the young man attentively. The The young man lays out things in front of him, a mirror, a handkerchief, a notebook, and a ballpoint pen. Then he wants to continue, but the fairy asks what this cute little thing is. The boy asks if the fairy is really talking about the handkerchief he received from Murray. The fairy asks if the boy really has such a wonderful handkerchief. Its quality definitely surpasses the technological level of this world. Even by Japanese standards, this product is one of the highest quality. Lucia says that this scarf is so cute. The fairy holds a handkerchief in her hands and says that if the young man gives her this handkerchief, she will make him a magic bag. Hiroki immediately agrees. He is surprised that the fairy has agreed. Lucia asks if the young man is really sure of this. The fairy at that moment was happy and screamed with happiness. Hiroki says it's okay. If they have magic bags, it will speed up their progress. Lucia says that if the boy says so, then it's okay. Hiroki didn't want to give away what once belonged to Ruri, but now his main goal is to get rid of Ren's curse. I'm sure the girl wouldn't be upset if he learned that this way he increased the effectiveness of their group. The fairy thanks the young man, and at this time she carefully folds the handkerchief. Now that she has such a rare handkerchief, she is in a wonderful mood. The fairy says that for their sake she will make an exception and charm bags for both of them. She says that she is very generous. Hiroki is surprised and asks if the fairy would really do that. Lucia is surprised that she would also be enchanted with a bag, and then she says that she doesn't have a bag. The fairy tells the girl not to worry, because those pockets on Hiroki's leg will do just fine. The young man asks if the fairy is talking about them. There are two of them, so they are just right. The fairy shakes out their pockets and begins to sing a song. The boy says that it is impertinent, but the fairy tells them to remain calm. She suggests that they begin, first for that boy. The boy says that his name is Hiroki. The fairy repeats Hiroki's name and then says that Luchia is nearby. The fairy says that in that case, she will first enchant the bag for Hiroki. The young man thinks. Lucia asks Hiroki what is it. The young man says nothing. The fairy uses the ability to expand the boundaries of space. Hiroki is surprised. Then the fairy says that everything is fine and everything is ready. She offers the boy to put something inside. The young man asks if he can put anything in there. The fairy replies that almost anything is possible. He then tries to fit the tent into the bag and asks, "How about this?" Lucia says it all fits and it's incredibly comfortable. Hiroki says that he didn't know fairies had such a useful skill. The fairy is proud of herself, laughs and says that's right. Then she decides to do the next one and uses the skill of expanding the boundaries of space. Lucia is happy with her new bag and says thank you very much to the fairy. The fairy thanks them in return and says it was a good deal. Then she asks if there is anything else. The young man remembers something and asks if the fairy has a potion made from the apricot grass that removes curses. The fairy apologizes and says that the product is currently out of stock. The young man then asks how about the apricot grass itself. The fairy says that if she had such a herb, she would have prepared a potion long ago. She does not sell the apricot herb unprocessed. The young man understands and then says that, in any case, he has no other valuable things on him, so he will have to get it himself. The boy says there are other ways to pay besides money and things. She thinks about what she should ask for. Hiroki thinks that he suddenly gets goosebumps. However, if it is to save Ren, then he is ready to do anything. His body tells him to run away from here, but his mind asks him to stay. He says that he will do everything in his power. The fairy asks if this is really so she will look forward to their meeting. She has shops in other places. She will ask them for something as soon as she has the potion in stock. The young man says that he is counting on the fairy. Lucia also thanks the fairy merchant. The fairy tells them to see each other soon. Luchia says that it is the first time she has seen a fairy, so she is simply delighted. Hiroki agrees and says that she is bigger than he imagined, so he passes the sea of trees. After a few days, they finally arrived at the continent of Apricot. Lucia is delighted to see the huge mountains in front of her. They notice a city in the distance. The girl suggests looking for information about it there. The young man agrees and suggests looking around there. After some time, they come to the continent of Apricot, a city north of the Sea of Trees. Hiroki says that this city is different from human cities. Lucia says that there is something mysterious about it. The girl is also happy and says that this is the lamp that glows with the help of magic. There are plenty of shops here with all sorts of magical things. Hiroki looks at the people and says that they look no different from humans. It seems that this country is more peaceful than he imagined. Is it really necessary to defeat the Demon Lord? It feels like it would be easier to get along with the Demon Lord than with the human king himself. Although he still has no idea what this Demon Lord looks like, the young man suggests finding a hotel first. The girl agrees with him. Then they arrive at the Weathervane Inn. The boy asks about Liko. The girl says that everything is correct. In Pisnot it is Lota, and in Apricot it is Liko. Hiroki is surprised that there is a different currency here. Lucia remembered that now she remembered that people were talking about it. The boy is upset. Lucia apologizes and says that she forgot about it. The girl says that they can exchange money at the Adventurers Guild. Hiroki says that they just have some business at the Adventurers Guild, so he suggests that Lucia go to the Adventurers Guild. After some time, they arrive at the Adventurers Guild. The girl at the reception desk welcomes the newcomers. Hiroki says that he would like to exchange lots for Liko and ask her about the apricot grass. The girl says that the current rate is 0.8 to 1. For example, by exchanging 50,000 lata, they will receive 40,000 lata. She asks if they want to exchange money. Hiroki is surprised and thinks that it feels like he will lose on this operation. He thinks that it depends on the prices of goods in apricot. The young man agrees to exchange money. The girl says that as he wishes. Then she says, what about the apricot grass? Unfortunately, it is a very rare grass. Even their guild does not have any stocks of it. The young man says that he wants to make a curse, removing potion from this herb, so he politely asks to tell him where he can find it. The girl explains that there is no specific place where this grass grows, but they have some guesses. The young man asks what guesses the girl is talking about. She agrees and says that this herb grows in places with a high concentration of magical power, but there is no guarantee that you will definitely find it there. The young man says that he understands. The girl opens the map and says that places with high concentration of magical power are mountains, rivers, lakes, and forests. There is no information about the apricot grass being underwater, so either mountains or forests remain. There is much more magic concentrated in the mountains, but the monsters there are also much stronger and more dangerous, so people don't often go there for materials. The magical power is weaker in the forests, but the herbs are most often collected there. Hiroki realizes that the concentration of magical power is higher in the mountains, and the monsters in the forests are not as dangerous. Another girl who just approached gives a positive answer. She apologizes for disturbing him and asks if he is Mr. Hiroki. The boy says that he is. She is happy and says that she was right. Recently, someone was also interested in this herb, so she thought of the boy. She says that they asked to tell Mr. Hiroki that they are going to the mountains. The boy understands that it is from Ren. The girl says that it is true. The boy thinks that they can split into two groups and agrees to go to the forest. The boy agrees and says that they can go there. Then the girl says, what about the potion to remove the curse? They will need the help of a first-class alchemist to brew the potion from the apricot grass. The young man is surprised. They realized that they had not taken into account that there must be someone capable of such a thing. The girl says that alchemists are not studying in the guild, so the guild will not be able to help them. The girl asks if they have any alchemists as friends. Hiroki thinks about his alchemist friends and then remembers Pino. He thinks if only he could send friend requests. He is not sure if Pino is a first-class alchemist, but perhaps she knows other alchemists who are more experienced. Luchia agrees and says that they did not ask them where they were going. The guild girl says that they can still try to hire an alchemist through the guild, so they shouldn't despair. Hiroki says the girls are right. He asks them to put up an ad. Lucia says that if at least one alchemist shows up by the time they find the apricot herb, everything will be fine. The young man agrees and tells the girl to start searching. The girls from the guild show a point on the map and say that this is the place where the herb is most likely to be found. The deeper they go into the forest, the higher the concentration of magic power. But the monsters there are also stronger. They are warned of the possible risk, so they go there. In the end, they decide to go there. After some time, the heroes come to the cabbies' exchange. The hero sees demons, beastmen, and elves. The young man understands that there are representatives of many different races here. Lucia says that in the capital of Pisnot, you rarely see anyone other than humans. Then the young man is surprised again and calls Lucia by name. The girl asks what is going on. The young man shows an unusual animal and asks what it is. Lucia says that this animal is called Pakara. He asks if they are really harnessed to carts like horses. The girl agrees. Lucia says they are very fast, but they need to be booked in advance. Lucia asks him to be careful. The children are frolicking near these animals, but the man asks them to move away from the animal. Lucia says they are cute, but quite aggressive. Packerists do not allow strangers to approach them. After that, they got into the cart to the apricot forest. The young man thought about it while they were still riding in that cart. But spending a whole day on wheels is a tough test. Lucia says there's nothing to be done. Carts are all like that. The boy thinks he now appreciates the technology of his world. He misses that comfortable level of rocking. Lucia says that if he is uncomfortable, why not use the pillows he recently bought? The boy agrees. Lucia says that she will take one for herself, too. Hiroki says it's comfortable, but not that comfortable, but not that comfortable. He hopes the ride won't be long. After a while, Lucia will be the young man, and says that they have arrived at the place. She says that the young man slept very soundly, despite all his complaints. The young man answers whether this is really so, and says that it is very fast. He rubs his shoulder and says his whole body is stiff. Lucia says it's because he never changed his position while he slept. The young man apologizes for the wait, then remarks that it is already evening. The man laughs and says that the travelers must be very tired. He says he will come back here every day at the same time to pick them up. The boy thanks the man. Lucia says it will soon be dark, so she suggests spending the night right here. The boy says that is a good idea. They often had to sleep in the open air, so he was already used to it. He began to collect brushwood. Thanks to the magical bags, they can take kitchen utensils and many ingredients with them. It will be easier to make long journeys. Lucia says that the meat is simply delicious. The next morning, it's time for the heroes to leave. He asks where they should go. Lucia tells him not to worry, she found out in the city. Hiroki says it's a great job. It seems that the places with the greatest concentration of magical power are springs and caves. Another day's journey north there is a spring. Continuing in this direction, they will be at the entrance to the cave in another day. The young man understood, and that meant they would go north. He drinks today's portion of the potion to attract monsters. It tastes terrible. Hiroki says it's not easy to drink 3 bottles a day. Lucia thanks him for his daily efforts. Then the girl is surprised, and the boy suddenly ducks. He feels some familiar feeling. Lucia says it's a slime demon. The boy looks at the monster and sees a slime demon. It's slow, but its attack is much higher than that of a normal slime. Hiroki says that's it, so it's just like a regular slime. For him, a healer with evasion. Lucia says that the boy is right. Hiroki tells the girl to fight together as they advance. He will cast a shield on the girl. Lucia says that the apricot grass is small trees, so you have to watch your step. The boy thinks that they will probably find it if they go deeper. Then the boy notices a ghostly flower. Then the boy notices a huge mushroom. Lucia heard that they only grow in places with a high concentration of magical power. It is a slime. It only needs a slight movement to dodge attacks. Hiroki says that they are on the right track. Then a slime demon and an orc demon appear. The youth says that monsters think that having the word demon in their name will make them stronger. Then he notices that the orc can use magic. Lucia says that maybe it's because they are demons. The boy then thinks about the monster's magic and how this is a chance to see if he can evade magic. When he watched Worry and Tina use their skills, it seemed to him that a mage could choose where to direct the spell. He failed to dodge the spell last time when he was attacked by a flying slime, but he has leveled up since then. He needs to test it out on weaker enemies. The demon orc starts to attack, and the young man realizes that his projectiles are flying very slowly. He decides to use his shield just in case. He also decides to prepare an instant heal. Lucia notices that something is wrong and shouts at the boy to dodge immediately. Hiroki listens to her and moves aside, and the magical clot flies past. He is glad that he was able to dodge. Lucia starts to get angry at the young man and says that he couldn't have dodged the attack much earlier because she almost had a heart attack. The boy apologizes and says he just wanted to see if he could dodge the spell. Meanwhile, the boy continues to dodge the demonic slime. Lucia wonders why the boy wanted to see if he could dodge the spell. Hiroki thinks he just succeeded. When the flying slime fired a spell at him, he was level 1 and his evasion skill was 51 points. Now his level is much higher, and he has pumped up his evasion to 87 points. He says that this is just his guess, but it is possible that dodging spells requires much more agility. Therefore, to dodge advanced monsters, he will need a higher level of dodge. All the monsters were defeated, and the young man wondered if his guess was correct. Lucia apologizes and says that she does not know. She has never heard of anyone leveling up the evasion skill. Hiroki remembers that he completely forgot about this. He is still far from having a perfect dodge build. 2 days later, they reach the spring. Lucia says that the place is very beautiful, and Hiroki says that they still need to find the apricot grass. Lucia agrees and suggests that they start searching. They look near the bank of the spring. Hiroki says he can't find anything. Lucia says that's bad and they'll have to stay here for the night. Hiroki suggests they go to the cave tomorrow and hopes they'll find something there. It was the night of the 4th day in the forest. The young man was trying to figure out where the cave was located. Then he realized that they were lost. They were supposed to come to the cave on the 3rd day of the journey. He thinks that it is worth returning to the source. Lucia asks him not to worry and says that she is on the right path and they need to move on. Hiroki agrees with her. He says that this place is full of magic, so they are moving in the right direction. At this point, the girl notices something. She squats down and tells Hiroki to look in one direction. The young man gets scared and covers his mouth with his hand. They see a huge number of goblin demons. The young man says that there are at least 30 of them, and among them is a magician. Hiroki thinks it will be hard, because this time he also has Luchia with him. He doesn't want a repeat of the incident with the breeding slugs. The young man whispers to the girl, but they need to leave quietly. She agrees. They rustle and try to leave between the bushes so as not to be noticed. However, the young man steps on a twig and thinks that this is already some kind of abundance of cliches. At this time, the girl creates many arrows and begins to shoot at the goblins, shouting for the young man to get ready. He realizes that he has no choice and starts running in the other direction. The monster attraction potion is still active, which means that they will all run after the young man. The hero then realizes that the goblins can't keep up with him, so he asks Lucia to shoot them while he runs around in circles. The girl agrees. Then the goblin mage uses magic and attacks the boy. He uses healing and thinks that the goblin doesn't use spells often, so he completely out-heals the incoming damage. Then the young man runs to one place and sees a huge number of goblins there and realizes that they have a whole lair there. The young man finds himself surrounded by monsters.